All right, all right. It looks like we are live. Welcome into the live stream, all. This is a not regularly scheduled live stream, but will be a fun live stream nonetheless because we are going to be having some members weigh in on what's going on with the Alec Murdaugh case that we have been covering. I don't have anyone backstage yet, so if you are a member of the channel and you would like to jump onto the live stream to give your opinion or just to, have some conversation back and forth, there is a link to the live stream in the members community tab. So make sure you click on that and it should bring you to sign in to the live stream. But other than that, how is everyone's Saturday going? We have not streamed on the weekend in a very long time. So let me know how your Saturday is going. I know some of you are in the East Coast. It's a little later in the day. We just hit the afternoon here in California. So pretty early day. I have been cramming, trying to catch up on everything that is going on with the trial. So I think I'm pretty caught up. Not all the way because I have missed 9 days. Have you guys been keeping up with this trial? I know some of you have, but go ahead and drop in the chat if you have been keeping up with the trial. I am going to assume that a lot of people that are on the live stream today are already subscribed, but if you are not, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button to help us out in the algorithm. For those of you who do not know me, I am Boss Attorney Bri and I am a California licensed attorney. Here on this channel, we cover copyright lawsuits, trademark lawsuits, and other celebrity lawsuits. And sometimes we cover whatever the heck we feel like covering, hence why we are covering the Alec Murdaugh trial, which is a criminal trial, which is normally something that I do not cover. So we're going to get into it. I have my little notes together. I want to know what you guys think about the case. I want to know if you think that he is liable. Is the prosecution doing a good job? Or do you think that they're going to have just a little bit of trouble getting this thing, getting him to be liable for the case? Please let me know. And before we do that, I am going to go into the chat to see who is all here watching live. And then we'll be bringing up some members in just a moment. Let me go through the chat a little bit. All right, we have Cheerful Bacon saying, hey, y'all, wish I could join the conversation, but I have no voice, so I will be here in the chat. Well, we're happy that you are joining us live nonetheless. Hella Swanky saying, I hope you get your voice back soon. I think I'll probably be with you in the chat. Come on, guys, don't be shy. Let's get onto the live stream. Let's talk. Let's see what's going on with the case. We're going to touch on some of the things that have been happening in the case so far, but don't be shy. It's all fun here. We have Oops Ceramic, member of the channel, giving us some emojis that's not showing up on live stream, but they're just emojis. Okay. Cheerful Bacon saying, hooray for company. Yes, I think it's going to be a good time. I know you guys are staying in the chat today, but that's okay. As long as we have some good interaction going on. Cheerful Bacon saying, I'm making myself some candy cane decaf green tea to get ready for this. Okay, well, I've never tried that before, but it sounds really good. And Tanya D says, hey, and dropping a BriHive emoji that StreamYard does not show to us. Tanya, where are you at? I thought you were coming to join us live. Okay. Chris Mullen says, hey, everyone. I'm the same. I have the flu, so talking is difficult, but looking forward to watching and hearing from you all. Well, I'm sorry that you have the flu. I've heard a lot of people getting sick lately, so I hope you get better soon. All right, we have Kalisha Casey saying hello to everyone. Hello. Welcome to our Saturday live stream. Welcome to Tanya. Our Triple Bacon says hi to peeps. Deacon Fatal says good afternoon. Boss Attorney Bri and all. Hello. Welcome to the live stream. Where are the peeps? Let's join in. We got one person waiting to come up on the live stream, but we thought we have a few more people coming on with us, but we'll see. Maybe later on you guys will jump in. Tanya D goes ahead and says, for everyone coming in, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Yes, if you have not already, thank you for the reminder. Deacon Fatal says, got a new guitar pedal and I'm going to test it out in a bit. Okay, that sounds good. A good Saturday activity. All right, we have Somewise Ganja. Welcome back to the live stream saying hello, Bri and Hive. Hello, welcome. I am not going to be able to get through all the chats. We are popping today. We are popping today. Okay, we do have a member in the backstage, so I am going to bring you on. Are you ready? All right, I'm going to add you to the live stream. We have Jane S. Hello, welcome to the live stream. How are you today?
Hi, Bri.
Oh, I cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me? Okay.
Is your mic on? Or is it me?
Should be. Supposed to be.
You guys
No,
hear
it's
her?
probably me. Hang on a second.
Let's see here what's going on with your mic. It says you should be on, but I can't hear you. Your earphones might be affecting you.
Yeah, maybe. Hang on a second. Let me take them
See
off.
if it's my computer here. No, it says I have sound, but that's okay. Okay, we're going to let Jane get her mic together. Let me know if you guys were able to hear her and if it's just me on my end. But we're happy to have Jane here. I'm happy to hear her opinion on what's going on with the case. All right. We have her back, but I still cannot hear anything. Which is it my speakers? Let me see what the chat is saying. Okay. You guys can hear her, but I cannot hear her. So it must be something on my end. Let me see what's going on. It says that my speakers are going to my mic, which it should not be. It is me. So let me see. Go ahead and say something, Jane.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it was me. It was me. I was the problem. Yeah, so I had the wrong speaker set up. I thought I had everything together. How are you today?
Great.
And you are Jane Stoddard, right?
I am.
Oh, well, nice to have you here live with me. Have you been listening in on the Alec Murdaugh case?
Yeah, I've actually been following with EDB and Uncivil with Kurt, and it's a mess.
What do you think so far? Just overview. What do you think so far? Because I haven't really been catching up with it. I've been just kind of watching the recaps because I've been working and I haven't had time. So what do you think overall about the case so far?
There is a boatload of doubt. It seems like the initial investigation was super shoddy. So so the defense is able to drive holes into, collection and that. And because the two murder weapons are missing or seem to be missing, and no one seems to have drawn the conclusion, where these have happened, and they drag some pawns on this massive property and that kind of thing. But there's lots of circumstantial, but nothing is tying in.
Yes, and that was one of the big points that they made in the opening statement. It's like, yeah, it's circumstantial, but we can still prove our case. But it sounds like they're having a pretty hard time from the feedback that I'm getting. I haven't watched it, so don't take what I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, I hear a lot of feedback saying they're not doing a great job. And so we also have Tanya D backstage. So I'm going to let her in here. Here we are. Hi, Tanya. How are you today?
Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you pretty good.
Okay, good. I am glad it's Saturday and I don't have to work.
Yes. Well, I'm happy you're joining us here on the live stream, even though working but not working here.
This is fine. I'm used to doing a podcast, so it's okay.
Okay. What do you cover on your podcast?
Total health, life lessons, and music. Every episode has a theme song because I like music. That's all.
Okay. Are you doing it on a podcast channel or on a YouTube channel?
Well, it's on YouTube, but it's audio only because I'm working up to get back on live or to get on live. But basically, it's on all the major platforms. But I took about a year off just to start my business. So I'm going to start it back up in the next month or two and connect it to my business.
Okay. What's your podcast called?
The T-Side Podcast.
T-Side. So guys, if you are interested in those topics, go ahead and follow Tanya D on her podcast. Is it on, that's the same name on YouTube too, right? Okay, go ahead and check out her podcast. And so let's get into the case. Have you been keeping up with the Murdaugh case?
Yes, I have.
Okay, what do you think overall so far?
Overall, it's a mess. It's just from personal experience, from my dad's trial, the 19-year-old that shot him. Guess what? It was a botched case, and the kid walked. Pretty much, I'm seeing all the holes. First of all, I'm the queen of questions. I'm asking all the questions. So I'm like, follow up on that question. I feel like Emily D. Baker. I'm like, just ask the question already. And I'm like, okay, fine. I think, honestly, the prosecutor is more focused on the financial crimes.
Yeah.
And he's not tying it together. At this point. Maybe there's something somewhere, but the way SLED handled that whole investigation, it's going to be hard to tie it together without the defense being able to poke holes in it.
Yeah.
There's going to be reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing. Like I said, I've only kind of watched catch-ups and like pieces of the videos, but I can see why everyone is like, there's some reasonable doubt here. But before we get into the chat here, we have Deacon Fatal gifting 5 Boss Attorney Bri memberships. I cannot show it here on StreamYard for whatever reason. They don't allow me to show that one. But thank you so much, Deacon Fatal, for supporting the channel and giving out some memberships. Let me see if I can see who's now a member. We have Kalisha Casey is a member. Let's see who else we have here. It's only showing me on Studio, so I'm trying to find them here. Okay, we have Khaleesi Casey became a member. You were gifted. Samwise Ganja got a membership. Whatchamacallit, Thingamajigger, Doohickey Mabob was gifted a membership. Lola Waterton was gifted a membership, and so was Josephine Cabrera. Well, welcome to the live stream, or not the live stream, the BriHive membership. And so you guys should also have access to the community tab now that you're gifted a membership to go ahead and join us on the live stream. So I hope to see some more people join it. And this is like our 25 member live stream. Before I got on, we have 27 members, but only Tanya D and Jane joined us live. So if you guys want to comment live, be sure to join the live stream. Okay, so I have some notes. And so let me know if there's any particular area that you guys are interested in talking about. But so think about that, and then I'll go through some of the chats. It's harder to do the chats when there's multiple people on the live stream because, you know, we're talking. But go ahead and think about what area you want to start with. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to start at the timeline that the prosecution has been laying out and what you guys think about that. So let me do some chats real quick, and then I'll come back to you guys, okay? All right. We have Carrie Todd. Welcome back to the live stream, Sam. This trial is a mess. Very sad whether he's guilty or not. I can partially agree because, like I said, I haven't watched the whole thing. Hella Swanky says, I plan to hop on in a sec. I'm out of the hospital, so gotta get set up. Well, awesome. Good. I'm happy that you got out of the hospital, and I will be happy to hear your jokes live and your comments live. All right. Deacon Fatal says, glad to hear you're doing better to Hella Swanky. Tiny D says, I'll come in. Oh, I'm late. Okay. These are about 10 minutes. I'm late. Okay, let me just get this one. One Blessed Nana says, I think it's a flop as far as what has been presented to the jury. The evidence is pointing to a hit. Could be set up by AM, but I find it hard to see how he did it solo. And the defense keeps making reference to the fact that there's multiple people that were probably involved in this. What do you guys think about that?
It makes sense just because of the two different firearms that were used, and the short amount of time that this seems to be in. You know, when you talked about the timeline, it's really, really convoluted. So I thought I had one timeline, and then with every new type of effort that they try to make with the timeline, it gets more confusing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Honestly, at this point, I feel like he did not do it. He had somebody else to do it, especially considering the fact he hired somebody else to do the same to him. But he was there. He may have left out, so there's nothing on him. He's clean, whatever. But with the Snapchat video, that was too close in time. He was there.
I would agree with that.
Something.
Yeah. So from what I gathered from it, it's too short of a time. And if has it been proved? I haven't kept up with the shot to his own head. Has it been proved that that was something that he put together, or is that still speculation? Okay,
that's just me speculating.
Okay,
at this point,
I believe in
the investigation. Nothing's set. Everything, like Jane said, it just changes every day.
I believe that the shooter came up and said that he was hired by Alec to do it. They got the shooter, and I believe he
basically ratted him out there. Yeah. So if he were to do that to himself, it's not too far-fetched that and I'm still gonna say speculation because he hasn't been, charged with anything for that. And so where was I going with that? If he would do that to himself, it's not too far-fetched that he would also do it to his son and his wife, especially if
he did admit to that. He did admit to that. So
Alex
that's not
did.
speculation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then with that being the case, if he would try to kill himself, I don't think it's too far-fetched to, hire someone else to, off your family. Yeah. Especially this is like 3 months in between each one.
June.
I have my notes here.
June to September. Wasn't it September?
Yeah. September. Yep, June and September. Yeah. So a couple of months in between. Who's to say it's not the same guy? So
yeah, Cousin Eddie, I believe he's on the witness list for the prosecution.
Well, that would be some good testimony.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, so I'm leaning more towards that. It may have been multiple people, but Alex probably knew about it. But again, those are not his charges. So they have to prove that he's the one that did the murder versus he conspired with someone to do it.
I do have a question, although you may not, because it's not your area, you may not be able to answer. But can the prosecution change the charges? Because right now it's just 2. Can they say conspiracy or make it manslaughter or something else?
No, because they didn't initially charge him with that. And again, I might be wrong here, but generally, no, you can't just switch the charges in the middle of the crime. And then let's say he loses this crime or he wins this trial. They can't then just bring it back and say, well, maybe he didn't do it, but someone else did it. If this was the line of questioning that they were going to go with, they probably should have had conspiracy on there. And then the fact that he did it. But then you would need the third parties to say, okay, maybe this person did it, but you hired them to do it or whatever it might be. So I think as far as him pulling the trigger, I don't think they're going to be able to prove that. All right. Let me see what the chat is saying. Summer Rain says other streamers have been saying that like it was already proven the shooter admitted. Okay. And that was regarding him getting shot in the head himself. Okay. Cheerful Bacon says this feels like the opposite of defense's opening is happening. They claim aggression in a rush investigation, but this seems to be they didn't even consider him, then had to rush with the finance crimes. And are we talking about the prosecution focusing on the finance crimes? I'm thinking so.
No, the defense, I I only skimmed through the opening. I
Mhm.
missed the day and just kind of briefly watched it back. But basically, defense was saying that they were treating him aggressively during the interviews, and it was a rush to judgment when they charged him. And as it's playing out, it was totally not the case at all.
Yeah,
They
and
show-
wasn't it like a year before they charged him?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he just got charged not too long ago.
And in all the and audio recordings, they showed so much deference, and they were so polite to him. They had a search warrant for his house because his lawyers and his family were all there. They didn't want to bother them. They didn't actually serve the search warrant. They just went around with them and did a little bit of searching. But yeah, no, so much deference.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit about the time. Let's talk a little bit about the timeline of what they're saying happened as far as the prosecution trying to build their case. They're basically basing it on some of the cell phone data because these rich people do not have cameras around their house for whatever reason. And they live on a big property, right? And so one of the videos that the prosecution is trying to use to show that Alex Murdaugh was there after he said he was not there. Don't lie. But that his voice is also in the video, which is the Snapchat recording by his son. He was sending it to his friend or whatever it might be. And then 3 minutes later, the prosecution is harping on then his son never opened the phone again. And same thing with the wife. So what do you guys think about that? As far as the Snapchat video and being in the dog kennel and him saying he was not in the dog kennel.
He was there.
Because he has a very distinct voice. You can clearly hear him in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wonder if they haven't tried to contest that that's his voice yet, right?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. I'm going to be adding another person. We have Hella Swanky joining us live. Hello, welcome to the live stream.
Hello.
What up, y'all?
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all? How's everybody doing?
We're doing good, or I'm doing good. I can't talk for everyone else.
Nice.
All right. And so since you're just coming in, how do you feel overall about how the case is going?
I'm tending to agree with a lot of people. I also have like a few theories that are not necessarily supported with any evidence I've seen, but I guess life experience. I would not be surprised if he didn't do this himself, but you know, like others have said, there's somebody else involved. He just seems like the type of guy to pay people to do dirty work or to pay people to do the hard things. Most guys like him are. And I also would not be surprised if the prosecution sucks right now on purpose, or at least is not giving their best effort on purpose. This man has a lot of privilege. He has a lot of influence. Like I said, I grew up, unfortunately, with people like this. You would be surprised at what they could get away with and like how far they can reach. You know, growing up in the suburbs, private school my whole life, and like it was rough. So I just wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, that's not necessarily based in like facts that I have, but it just gives me flashbacks, and it's so reminiscent of like a lot of other things that I've witnessed throughout my life. So that's
I think that's I'm maybe not supported by evidence in this case, but I think it's reasonable just given the fact of all the things within the last 7-8 years that it's coming out about him, like the kid that they said it was a hit and run. It turns out that it was blunt force trauma. So maybe somebody hit him in the head and they got allegedly may have been involved in that and then got away with that. And then the housekeeper falling down the stairs, knowing that they have dogs, how all of a sudden did this happen this time, but it's never, I mean, I don't know if it's been an issue before, but it's all of a sudden an issue. Then we have the boating incident, and the way that they explained his son's personality and his behavior while being in the hospital after causing someone to die, it was arrogant. So if his son is arrogant, it's not too far-fetched that he is probably also arrogant. So I don't think that, even though it may not be evidence in this case, but I don't think it's far-fetched to assume that he would pay someone to do his dirty work.
Yeah, for sure. The boating accident especially didn't surprise me. I grew up with those kids, unfortunately. So I was like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so where were we at in the case? I forgot. We have Alpha in the chat. He's supposed to be here, but he's in the chat.
Hey, Alpha in the chat.
I don't even know where he is. He's somewhere in here, but he's supposed to be here live. That's okay. Let's see what the chat is saying, and then we'll get back into our timeline about the Snapchat video. I have my little notes down here. That's why I'm looking down. And then I want to talk about the phone, the movings of the phone. So let me do some chats real quick, and then we'll get into that. All right, we have Pel Rogue 1 saying, I think that it's possible the time they say they died could be off, just not because they didn't look at their phones. I would agree with that. I was like, how would they just determine that was the time? It's definitely going to need some the testimony about what the actual time of death was found to be by the coroner. But I also think since Paul was on, I think it's more relevant for Paul's phone versus Maggie's phone. Since he was on his phone constantly that day, and then all of a sudden he stopped being on his phone, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say, okay, maybe this is around the time that something happened. Maybe they weren't, shot at that time, but maybe they were starting to get held up at gunpoint or whatever it might be, or he got into, feeding the dogs or something, so he didn't touch his phone. Because I know sometimes I'm on my phone and then something random will come up and then I don't touch my phone for a very long time. So I can see where you're coming from with that. Did you guys have any comments on that?
I'm totally confused about the whole phone thing. So what were you going to say, Jane?
The phone thing. You're right. I think with Maggie's phone, it's more inconclusive, but with his phone, his phone they said it was only at 2%, but he still went ahead and took that video, but he didn't send the video, and his phone didn't die for another hour.
Right.
The battery didn't die for another hour. So I guess why take the video and not send it?
Right. That makes sense. I didn't realize he never sent the video.
Video didn't get recorded.
That makes sense. So I would say it's a little bit more applicable to Paul versus Maggie, because it seemed like her data just showed her walking around. It didn't really show her calling people, texting people, and things like that. All right. Did anyone else have anything to say on that one? Nope. All right. Well, moving right along. We have Beverly Pasco Sadler saying, plus Paul's friend said he was 99% sure. And then when he listened again, he said he was 100% sure it was Alex. As far as being in the video, I think that's what we're referring to. Shamika agreeing. Welcome to the live stream. I'm sorry I haven't been able to greet everyone. It's a lot of chats today. It's popping today. I was not expecting this, honestly, but I'm happy everyone's here spending Saturday with me. All right, we have Shamika J saying, folks with as much privilege as him do so many shady things. It's not far-fetched. That's why I think he's being, accused here. Tanya, you're in the chat and on the
yes, ma'am.
And on the live stream. I love to see it. All right.
We got to make sure no bots come in.
Oh, thank you.
And make sure people are hitting the like and subscribe button.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And then we have Alpha dropping a super sticker for us. It doesn't show us on live stream what it is. And I think I saw it earlier. Well, what is it? It's like the little hang. What does this sign stand for? I don't know. I forgot. Hang loose, right? I feel like that's what it stands for. All right. We have Oops Ceramic saying, hello, Swanky. Hi. All right. Cooking for my dog. to help her tummy problems. Nice to see you all on the stream. Yes, I'm happy that you guys joined. I know it's a little different if you guys don't do this all the time, but I'm happy that you guys are here. All right, let's see. All right, so one of the main points that I have seen, mind you guys, I've only watched a little bit of this, has been the phone evidence, and they were basically saying if the shooter is the same person, i.e. being Alex, then their phones would have been doing the same thing at the same time. And they weren't doing the same thing at the same time, which I agree with, which gives me more reason to believe there was a third party helping him. So maybe that person left before Alex left, and then he was able to text them and say, hey, I'm going to see my mom randomly. Do you guys remember that evidence? And if so, what do you think about it?
I remember it, but again, all that is confusing to me because I'm listening while I'm working, and sometimes I zone out because it's too much. But I know there's a period of time where his phone has nothing. It's turned off, I guess, or in airplane. I don't know what happened. So of course it wouldn't track, but also he apparently wiped everything from that day except like 2 calls. So and I don't even know if that part was in front of the jury or not. I don't know. It's so much going on. But yeah, I don't really know. But to me, that doesn't mean anything.
But even if he wiped the stuff, wouldn't they still be able to see it in the background? Like,
regardless of that's how they know it got wiped.
Yeah.
He deleted it, but it's still on the server.
Yeah, there were calls on his phone, but there were 73 from the Verizon call logs.
Right.
And what the time frame, if that was throughout the day, I think it was throughout the day there were 73 calls between Maggie and him, but there was only 2 calls on his phone, not just in that time. I agree with Tanya I think he had his phone turned off because we knew he was down in the kennels in that time, but the phone showed no action, no movement, no nothing at that time, and we knew he was down there. So
couldn't he have just left it somewhere else?
Theoretically, he could have.
Yeah. Was there no data, or did it just not coincide with what Maggie's phone was doing?
I think there was nothing.
It was nothing.
Okay. It could have been off.
And it was only, and the chat can, give more information, but it was only off for a few minutes.
I thought for an hour. Like I thought it was like
I don't know.
9:07 that there was nothing on it. The time he was supposed to be napping, but then we knew he was down at the kennels.
I do remember the 9:07 part, but yeah, again, don't give me the line. It's a lot.
It's a lot of information.
Folks in the chat are talking about a burner phone, which to me makes a lot of sense. That's what just thinking about who he is, that would make a lot of sense to me, the burner phone.
Because I believe his partner or best friend, whoever this Chris person was, said he called him sometimes from a number that he didn't remember or didn't recognize, which apparently was a burner phone.
Right.
Okay. Makes sense. And I just wanted to take a second to say Dog Foster Mom 2018 saying new here, seeing you on Law and Lumber. Well, thank you for coming on over. I was on Friday Night Frenzy last night with Rob. So if you guys want to see some stuff about Girardi. What was that?
I didn't get a chance to watch all of it. I turned it on for a minute, but I was trying to catch up on everybody's summation screen. Stream, so I didn't get a chance to finish.
Yeah, I was on there probably like the last hour, so that's probably why. But it was good. We were talking about Girardi and Baldwin and kind of catching up on everything that was going on there. So if you guys want to see some craziness, make sure to check out the ending part of that. And welcome to everyone that came over from last night's Friday Night Frenzy, and welcome to everyone that has come over from anyone's channel in general. All right, let's see what we have here. So as far as the phone stuff goes, and then him going to his mom's house, it does seem more like an alibi to me. What do you guys? Do you guys think the same? Jane nodding.
See, the thing with him is he's an attorney. He
Mhm.
knows how to do these things, aside from the fact that he's well connected in the town.
Mhm.
Pretty much people could probably just, even if they don't necessarily feel like they're afraid of him or the family, it's kind of like they've been raised to know you don't do this and you don't do certain things, or whatever they say, just let it go. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there might not be like conscious fear, but there's this like sense of like, better, like, sort of like what to do, what not to do, to sort of stay safe or stay on the good side of power, essentially. So I agree with you.
I would really like to hear from his mother's caregiver to say to how often does he visit? Did he visit his mother at 9:00 at night? Dementia generally, they're 9:00 at night. You're going to see your mom, and she's
No,
got no sense.
Yeah, those are questions that need answers, and it was just kind of random. Like, unless she like really needed help, and she was just like, "Oh yeah, can you come help me do this?" Versus just saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go see my mom at 9:00 at night," after I was just in the kennels after I said I wasn't there. And all of a sudden, her phone is on the side of the road in the direction it takes to go to his mom's house. So
yeah, well, I will say, because that one can be explained away, and technically it would be more feasible because his father had just gone to the hospital that day.
okay.
So fine, whatever. I still don't think he's innocent in all of this, but that could be a reasonable explanation.
Okay, do you think that he would have given more detail in the text that he sent his mom if the case was that something was going on with his dad? Like, hey, going to mom's house because she needs help with dad or something like that. I feel like we don't know what
because
people
they had a
do
whole
in
family
crisis.
chat, didn't they?
Yeah, they did have a group chat. Mm-hmm.
The group chat, though, was talking about going to see the dad, not the mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like if something was going on with the dad, and this is all just speculation, of course, he would have said, "Oh, I'm going to see mom because she's having trouble with dad," or something like that. Or he's maybe not that reasonable. I don't know. Don't know how rich people think. All right. We have Kat saying, has there been any explanation about his change of clothing yet? I don't think so. Have you guys seen it yet?
Nothing yet.
Oh.
For this one, I think him changing his clothes is a little reasonable in the circumstances, and here is why. Because he was up doing stuff during the day in the yard, and then he went to a dog kennel, and then he went to go see his mother. I would not go to see my mother, elderly mother, in dirty clothes. Even though I still don't understand why he's going over there at 9:00 at night. But I think it's reasonable that he changed his clothes before he went to see his mother.
That was going to be my question. When did he change his clothes? Did he did change them before he went to see his mom? Because if so, if we don't, that's the thing. If he changed them before he went to see his mom, sure, I think that's completely reasonable. I would change my clothes. But I would also see my mom at 9:00 at night. So I don't know. Yeah. But I would see her all the time. So I don't. But if he changed them after or like wait, then yeah, I think that's totally suspicious. So that it goes back to figuring out when that happened. I think it's also interesting. Deacon Fatal said something about he said this is how a lot of crimes are solved because people don't see caretakers as people. So it's like they're flies on the wall. So I completely 1,000% agree with that. And I would love to hear from the caretakers regardless, like just to know what's typical, what's the norm, what do they think? Like they probably know what's up. Like I guarantee you, like the helpers, the housekeeping, anybody who's considered the help, they probably know what's up. And I want to hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I found really, I mean, I don't want to say anything nasty about someone who's dead, but she made pretty dismissive comments for house staff, you know.
I was not going to even bring it up, but
Oh, I
as
just
soon as
thought,
she said that,
Speak on it, but
I
speak
was
on it
like,
though.
I just didn't even feel right. And I was like, really, lady?
right?
Because I was working and I heard it and I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
I'm
The
brilliant.
Mexican, no, ma'am.
Okay, and then we have some people giving us some more information in chat. Chris Mullen says the father went to the hospital that day. Oops, it just disappeared on me. Okay, let me look at the regular screen. The father went to the hospital that day, so he's using that as a reason, just checking on mom with dad gone. Yeah, I think that would be reasonable, but I also think he would have included that in the chat. I mean, in the text message. But I could be reaching. Kalisha Casey says his mom has dementia and his mom didn't like being alone. Maggie told him to let her know so she could go, but he said Maggie doesn't usually go with him, according to his lawyers. But if she specifically said let her know so she can go this time, you would think he would let her know so she can go. So did he know she was already gone, or did he just not want her to go? A lot of questions there. Listen to Learn says the change from pants to shorts that late at night is fishy. Okay, so I don't know what he had on, but pants to shorts, that is a good point.
Well, the thing is, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not. I'm trying to be careful what I say, but I just don't think it's that from pants to shorts or putting on shorts at late at night. I've seen some real wild stuff. Certain people wear shorts a lot in wintertime
but it was June also.
Yeah, that's why I was like, let me catch myself.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. It was in June.
And when he had on the pants and the shirt, those were work clothes because he had been at work that day. Now, to be honest, when he changed those clothes, is it when he had dinner? I don't know, because again, the whole timeline, I don't know if he had dinner and I guess they had dinner. He supposedly took a nap and they went to the kennels. So maybe he changed clothes after dinner before he went down. But I don't know, because I think it was like an hour in between where there was nothing that's unaccounted for before he called police. So I don't know. I'm just gonna keep watching.
I think we would have to really, to get a lot of these holes filled, a lot of these details, I think we would have to talk to like the staff and like the people who kind of are in the periphery and the background. Now, somebody did say that they could be threatened or bribed or whatever. And as far as bribe, I think that depends on like their relationship with their staff, right? If they treat their staff really well and their staff is loyal to them and has a good reason to be loyal to them, cool, then you might as well let that go. I agree with that. But from what I've heard, it doesn't sound like they're very kind to their staff. You know what I mean? And threatened maybe, and I do see like, okay, they have a lot of power, so maybe they'd be unwilling. But I think if they were, I think they could be persuaded. Like if they don't have loyalty to the Murdaugh family, they could be persuaded to start spilling some tea. And I think they have a lot, more than probably anybody else.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. If he is hiring people to off people, who's to say he's not paying the staff a little bit extra to keep their mouth shut? So I don't think it's too far-fetched.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting anybody off there. All right, so Dasby says, I think the clothing was referring to him having a fresh white tee on when the police showed up after the murder occurred, but he told them he was touching the bodies, checking for pulses. Okay, so his shirt was not dirty. Is it possible that he just changed his shirt, before the police came?
No.
That's possible.
Because he was on the phone with them.
The entire time? I thought he kept hanging up. Well, not that long of hang-ups, though, I guess, huh?
Again, I don't remember that whole timeline. I have real life to worry about. But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was because when he was on the phone with the police, he went back to the house and got that gun and came back down. And the dispatcher was like, okay, put the gun down and no. And he was like, no, I'm not going to shoot it. And he was on the phone, I believe, when the officer showed up.
and that goes back to the investigation. You know, I think when he told the officer to touch the body, and he's got no blood on him at all, and it was, you know, a very gruesome scene. I know I can't even wear a white t-shirt without spilling tea on me, let alone touching a bloody body without getting blood all over me. So, where would were you wearing these clothes? Where are the clothes you were wearing at that time? We're going to need those, you know, but nothing was said about how he was in pristine, his clothes were pristine, but he was touching dead bodies with blood on them.
Yeah, that's not happening. There's no way.
No.
So there's one of two things is a lie. Either that's not the shirt he was wearing, or he did not touch those. He wasn't anywhere near those bodies. Like, I just know, like you said, you can't do it without getting tea. I'm in the ER hospital for 2 seconds and my shirt is ruined. Like, you know, and they're careful. Like you got stuff covered. No, it's just not happening. So if he's saying this is the shirt I had on the whole time, and also I checked the bodies, well, one of those two things is a lie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know he's a liar because he also said he wasn't at the kennel.
Yeah.
And it turned out that he was there. So I do think it's a little suspicious that the quickness in which he left the home, like, how did he not hear shots?
Exactly.
Are they gonna allege there were silencers? Like, and with the ballistics, I don't think they'll be able to really allege that, though.
I was about to say, they don't have the murder weapons, right? Like, so they don't know. I mean, defense could easily be like, oh, there must have been silencers. I don't know why I didn't hear, blah, blah. Yeah.
It's a mess.
I believe, depending on shotguns don't have silencers. No such thing as a silencer. Right. And the other one, if it was the gun that's missing, they didn't have a silencer for it. So someone would have either had to bring another one. But if we're looking, and we knew that they didn't have a suppressor. It only had a little red dot, a cheap red dot on it. And because it was a replacement gun, because the young lad lost a whatever $4,000 gun with all the things on it.
Okay. Yeah, and with the clothes, even if he was just, it's country area, it's a kennel. There's dirt. He had nothing on this white t-shirt.
Right.
Apparently they found a little something, but everything's so inconclusive. But that goes back to SLED and the botched investigation. They didn't look for anything.
Yeah, they skipped over a lot of stuff. And even with the phone call to 911, he was hysterical as much as you could be hysterical being Alex Murdaugh. And usually when people are reacting like that and upset that their loved one has been shot, you're going to touch them a little bit more than, oh, let me just touch the pulse. Let me see, you're probably going to be grabbing on them, whatever. He said he moved them a little bit, right? But tried not to disturb
one version.
Yeah. In one of his stories, he moved them. In another story, he didn't move them. But you would probably touch them a lot more.
Yeah, he did. He didn't. And he wasn't sure if he did. Touch Paul.
He know whether he did or not.
And so he knows he's a lying liar who lies.
Right.
He knows how to do it. And to be honest, it's just second nature at this point.
Right.
He knows how to throw in these random stories about the Navy SEALs, and like, what are you talking about, to throw people off? But he's also an attorney. He knows how to do this stuff.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. He knows whether he did or not. He just doesn't know which is the best version of events that he should tell in that moment. He know whether he did it or not. That's clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel Luke says he went to get the gun while on with 911. Could there have been some time that he changed his shirt? I don't know. I'm trying to give him some doubt.
Is it true they never found the other clothes? The clothes that they never found.
Did they even ask for them? Is the question.
Well, I doubt they did, because like I said, I'm sure when the investigators were there, those are all his people, right? Like, that are there doing the investigation. Yeah. So I'm sure they weren't pressing him too much. They were probably trying to treat him with kid gloves and be nice, and Mr. Murdaugh and Sir and Mr. Alec this. And so, yeah, they probably didn't look for none of that. And he definitely wasn't going to hand him over. Yeah. So,
because I believe the SLED officer who said I guess it was SLED, I don't know, who pretty much did the search of the house just off of consent. He's like, look wherever you want, but his brother and his attorney followed her around.
Right.
I'm like, oh well, whatever. I'm flipping all this stuff up, but that's just me. I don't care. But yeah, like I said,
I mean, I feel like I'm not making excuses. I just know a lot of times I hear people talk in these situations and they're like, this is what I would do. And I had to stop doing that because I don't know if I felt like my job was on the line, if I was worried about a promotion, or if I was already getting hell at work, or especially if you're a woman, things can be difficult. I don't know. But that kind of goes back to my point where I don't think they were doing their best work when it comes to this family. Like they're treating him with kid gloves. They're thinking about themselves at the same time, which is not to say they shouldn't, but when one family has that much power and influence, it's kind of hard to really be like to go against the entire grind, the entire city, the entire town, and be like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
I totally agree. So let me just clarify my statement as Tanya.
Right.
Who has worked for the state, who's done investigations just as a social worker.
Right.
I pretty much worked with the family. I was covering the case for a coworker, and apparently the foster parents made a comment, and they were like, first of all, the coworker that I was covering for was not melanated. She was less melanated than I was. So was this foster family. Pretty much, the parents didn't want me to do something and take the kids to see mom. And they were like, we know the senator. We're going to call the senator on you. I'm like, okay. I don't know the senator. So, Ann, please let me get fired because, okay, I'll get unemployment because I ain't doing anything wrong. I just did my job and came to pick these kids up. So I know me and my attitude, I would. But to be honest, I understand. Powerful people, it's a whole different ball game. I just know I have a powerful attitude.
For sure.
Well, I mean, talking about that, I mean, his family's legacy goes back generations, so it's generational knowledge. And his lawyer, who's a very good friend of his, is he the congressman or the senator for South Carolina?
South Carolina, yeah.
He's sitting in the House.
Yes, he's the state senator. Yes.
So, like there's nothing like going out and saying we are important. We are more
What really got me is mind-boggling when they left court, not Friday, I guess Thursday. Alex started picking up case files and I was like, bruh, seriously? They don't care. Like, whatever, we're gonna do what we want. He's picking up all the court case files and holding them, walking out. I mean, yeah, but you not Daryl Brooks. You're not defending yourself. Your attorneys can't take the case files. Like, okay. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just going to look at my work and do what I need to do and listen because this is too much.
All right. So we had Uncivil in the chat. I don't know if he's still there, but he says the state case sucks. Kurt has been covering the trial from gavel to gavel. So if you guys would like to see some more full coverage instead of my speculation, make sure you go and check out Uncivil Law. And I did not drop the link in the attorney group, so maybe I should do that if Kurt wants to join.
And he did say Kurt said he's lived in South Carolina, and SLED they're notorious for their investigations. Or lack thereof.
They let it slide. SLED lets it slide. Sinfinity says the prosecution has done this case a big disservice by not putting forth any kind of feasible timeline of events. ... Muddy.
I agree.
So yeah, one of the other issues is that he invoked his right to a speedy trial. So they didn't have as much time to prepare for the trial as Brian Kohlberger's team is going to have to prepare for the trial because he still needs to, he still has like his pre-trial hearing that needs to happen. I forget what the name is off the top of my head, but they're going to have plenty of time to prepare for his stuff. But with this one, it was kind of quicker. And I know from my own experience, when I prepare my cases, sometimes it's all out of order. And they may have just had to come forward with it being all out of order before they had the time to put it in order. Mind you, they have a bigger team than just me, but yeah, I could see how they did not get the timeline. And honestly, they're probably confused about the timeline, having all of this evidence come in so quickly and then needing to present it. All right, so
but I don't understand. I know they don't have as much technology as other courts, but even if you don't have a timeline, I don't know, maybe the jury is able to see some of the information on a printout, a sheet that they put up, but everything is so convoluted.
It really is.
They'll say something and they don't ask all the right questions, and then they'll wait 2 witnesses later and go back and like, oh, wait. And especially since they don't have they can't take notes. That's preposterous.
That's wild.
I don't understand
how they can keep track of any of that.
And I feel like I would have probably had to tap out because with the way my brain works, the ADHD, I would have been like, you know what? No notes. I can't do this. Y'all not gonna stress me out. Like, how? It's already a mess. I'm having trouble as with all of these different sources. How are they keeping track? No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
I don't know how they're doing that either. Yeah, I guess that's just their local rule too, but it doesn't make sense. It's a 3-week trial, which is probably going to be longer than 3 weeks, and you can't take notes. You're not going to remember who testified first, and I guess that will be a benefit for the defense to make them forget the police. You can't even write down in the police video he had on a clean shirt or whatever. You might forget all of that stuff.
The lack of notes, the confusion, that's going to benefit the defense. That's only going to help them, right? Because I know if I'm there, I'm not putting nobody away and I'm back there confused, right? Like, that's no, like you would have to come find me. That's no way.
Right. And so that's why it's to prove it by beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you confused, they have not proved it by a reasonable doubt.
Right. It's going to either be not guilty or a hung jury. Either way, he won't be convicted of this crime, but thankfully he's already in jail for all the other stuff.
Right.
But see,
that's what
amazing out when it comes to the coroner or you know, with the rain code or that kind of thing. Unless they pull something amazing out, as it stands right now, there are holes as you can drive a Mack truck through. There's just so much confusion and doubt.
Yeah, that's what I cannot figure out if like the prosecution and that side is just that incompetent, or why would they bring this case to trial as is? Like, I cannot figure out why they thought this is solid, this is it, we got him. Like, or did they know we don't got him? But that's the point. Like,
they probably thought they would have more time to prepare it, honestly, or speculation, they could just be bringing the trial forward to satisfy the people in the community, and then he's found not guilty.
See, that's what I've been thinking this whole time. I'm like, this feels like theater. Like, this feels like make the people happy, and they're in the back keying with Alex Murdaugh, and they're like, we got you, don't trip. Like, maybe they're not actually saying that, but that's what it feels like. It feels like they're not serious. It feels like they're playing, because I cannot figure out why you would bring a case with there's so much. They have to see that the case as is, if it keeps going in this, there's no way he's going to be found guilty. They have to know that, or they're just painfully incompetent. Putting on a show.
And I honestly don't think they're incompetent, because I think that the prosecutor, in his questioning, he's doing all right. He's just not tying it together. So let me get to this chat. Uncivil Law says, I don't know why the vast majority of details solicited by the state matters. I really did not need to know every time the phone orientation changed. I didn't get that part either. And how long it took to change. Okay. And then let's see. Did you guys take note of that too? Or was that to you, was that weird? Talk about, the phone. I think their point with the phone orientation, though, is to show that the phone was picked up and or unlocked. Because what kind of phone did she have? I don't think your phone orientation changed.
They had iPhones.
They were iPhones. So in order for the orientation to change, it would have needed to be unlocked. I never had mine change while it's locked. Does yours?
No.
I don't
have an iPhone, but
I'm not
no,
an iPhone
mine,
user,
I hate when my phone rotates, so I don't even keep
I
that
turn
on.
mine off.
Right.
Yeah,
I keep mine
but
locked.
basically they had the passcode, or Alec had the passcode to her phone.
Right.
So
And he
maybe
gave it
that's
up.
why they're saying, technically, if she was unalive, who was moving the phone, who had it and using it, because somehow it was unlocked.
Right. Because I don't think it shifts while it's locked. I've never seen it do that.
I don't have iPhone, but I know mine can. Like I know if mine is locked, I have a flip. I have a Z flip, or I always have a Samsung. But I know that if mine is locked and I don't have the orientation locked, because sometimes I won't, whether I'm watching something, it will change while it's locked. But I don't know if that's true for iPhone. But I also don't know why it's that important. I mean, I get it. So even if he was using it, like she's already dead and he's using it, what does that tell us? Like
it tells us the phone is still active. And so I think it's the prosecution witness. It probably hurt them more than they thought it was going to help them, because it did not show that the two phones, they're saying Alex did it. They're not saying it's a third party that also helped him. And the phone's not doing the same things, or the phone being out the window already on the side of the road while he's still at the house. It's not showing what they want. It's not giving what they wanted it to give. Okay. So, all right, 1 second. We have Deacon Fatal with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, saying it's giving me don't visit this town at all. That is what it's given.
facts.
Well, and look, we have what, 4, 5? The 2015 guy, the housekeeper, Mallory Beach, his wife, his son, attempts on him. He has 6 people in the last 8 years, including himself, that has been either offed or tried to be. Most of them offed. He's the only one that survived. It is given don't go to the town and don't be friends with Alex Murdaugh.
I started listening to the Murdaugh, whatever, the podcast today, and what's her name, Mandy Matney, and this started, I guess, maybe in 2021, whenever the podcast started. But she said at the time that was the only town in, like, without a Walmart. They still didn't have a Walmart because they were told, you probably don't want to put your business here because it's like more trouble than it's worth. So, in Walmart, that's a whole different discussion. They don't even put a Walmart in that town. That tells you, yeah, that's not where you want to be. Not because of Walmart, but if they scaring Walmart away, that's a whole different ball game.
And Walmart is what Walmart is, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm trying to find the link for Kurt real quick. So if you guys have something else you wanted to say, go for it.
I was just looking through the chats, and I don't know, somebody was like, you girls are way behind. But
way behind on what, the chats?
I was gonna say, I don't know what, because
probably the chats. I am. I'm so used to seeing every single chat, and I can't do it today because there's too many chats coming in. So sorry, folks. Sorry, I'm trying to
read the chats, but I left my glasses, so I only have my sunglasses. So I'm trying to read, but I'm struggling here.
I kind of prosecution, and especially the him not bypassing with all the financial crimes. And if you noticed, when he did the without the questioning, without the jury there, and they were talking financial crimes and seeing if that was going to if they were going to allow that in or not. He seems to be a lot more thorough on all of this stuff with the financial crimes than he does with anything else. Like when we were going through the financial crimes, I got the timeline there. I understood what was going on. I could see how he double-crossed his best friend and how he double-crossed his law firm, and he had that all tied up. So this is the first trial. He's got what is it? Over 100 more charges, 100 more charges coming up after this. So even though this is big, he's going to jail for a long time on these financials because they've got him down to rights on all these financial crimes. So, you know, we don't have the time, we don't have everything. We're going to walk through this, but this is not where we're focusing on. That's what I mean, just the completeness of the testimony and the questions and everything on those financial questions versus, say, the timeline, the gunshots, the ballistics, that kind of stuff. It was real big, a glaring difference to me.
Right. Okay, and then I want to get to this chat really quick. It says Katie Hedinger, I think I said that right. Says, Bri, is the timeline clear to you? It's still confusing to me. No, I haven't been keeping up with the case, honestly, but just from getting the timeline that has been presented so far by watching a few videos and looking at a few articles, it does not seem to be clear. But we do have Uncivil Law here who has been watching the whole entire case, so maybe he has a better timeline. How are you, Kurt?
It has been a painful experience most of the time. I'm not sure I'm going to continue into next week at this pace because it's just been so torturously painful watching the state's case. Is it like a test of character thing? If I continue walking in the snow, I become more like a real man or something? Oh, okay. All right, maybe I'll do that. Yeah. No, I found the state's evidence so far to be tedious and banal. I don't know why. I don't really need to know what's on line 37 of column Q of the Excel spreadsheet from the Verizon guy. And I don't need to know it for the next 4 hours, you know, and where it just goes on and on and on. It's just so much detail that doesn't seem to connect to anything. And I don't know why it's relevant. And they don't ask like connecting questions. And I don't know if that's because they can't ask connecting questions because they don't connect, or if they're just not doing it. Like, for example, they asked about, at one point in testimony, they asked about various ammo casings that were found at the murder scene, you know, the brand, the gauge, and stuff like that. Then they asked about various ammo that was found in the house, you know, that was stored in the shotguns. And I'm like, okay, some of these words are the same words. I recognize the same words, but is it one for one match? And if it is, you're not bringing that through. Because like if you're thinking about like a shotgun, for example, you can match it on gauge, you can match it on length, you can match it on pellet size, you can match it on the manufacturer. So it's like there's at least 4 different ways you can to match a shotgun round. And so assuming that it's a one-to-one match, I'd ask the connecting question. You know, isn't the brand that you found at the house Winchester? And isn't that the same brand that wasn't there yet? Exactly. And isn't it 12 gauge? And isn't that the same gauge? And wasn't the pellet size 7? And isn't that the same pellet size? And so forth and so on. But they're not acting those connecting questions, which makes me think they can't because they don't match one for one. They're similar, but not the same.
Right. It was one comment that they made, and it just made my ears perk up. But again, I don't know if it even made any sense because everything's so convoluted. They were saying that one of the guns, I think evidence markers 9 and 10, I believe one was red, one was black, but from one particular weapon was loaded with 2 different types of bullets. And I was like, okay, so did that mean that one gun, they were saying is 2 shooters or 2 weapons, but even if that's not the case, when he went to the house to get the gun, he had loaded 2 different types. So is that something that he commonly does? Or they were like, oh, well, he was so, you know, flustered, that's why he did that. But
yeah, it's not unheard of for self-defense shotgun to stagger birdshot and buckshot.
Okay.
It's not unheard of for people to do that. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. I was like, but I'm not a gun person. So I was like, so why would it be so odd that he did that if apparently that's what people do or somebody else did? So
16 gauge is really rare. It's not a common.
No, it's not.
20 gauge and 12 gauge are your most common, and 12 gauge is the most common. So where this 16 gauge came from is really, and you know, out of all the guns we're talking about, I've never heard anyone talk about having a 16 gauge shotgun. So where did this 16 gauge shotgun shell come from? Did he have just 2 of them laying around and he's, in 16? Because a 16 gauge will fit in a 12 gauge shotgun, but you can't shoot it. It will mess everything up.
No, it won't cycle, and if it does, you're going to have a bad time. So I would, don't do that.
Boy, it doesn't sound good. All right, so we actually have 200 people watching live, which I am very shocked about. I thought this was going to be something small and cute, but I am happy that everyone is here live. If you haven't hit the like button already, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe if you like the content so far. I am going to try to jump into some more of the comments because I am like, that's my thing. I do comments, I do my chats, and I haven't been able to do it a lot on this live stream. So let me see where I'm at here. I know we are behind. We got Listen to Learn saying Murdaugh Murders has a ton of backstory. There's a lot going on with him, and then this case, and then all the other cases that are going against him. We have Chris Mullen says, yes, 12 gauge and 16 gauge in the same gun. And I think that's what you guys were just explaining about.
That's not something you do deliberately. That is a recipe for disaster.
So one of the guns was a shotgun, and then the other one, it was an automatic rifle or
semi-automatic rifle in an AR platform, 300 blackout, which is a knockdown AR round. So it's like 223. And it's similar. It's just a different round.
Okay. And the son was the one that was shot with the shotgun, right?
Correct.
Okay. And they did 2 shots?
I'm not sure if they said how many times the son was shot, but apparently his brains were spattered all over the place. So it's pretty brutal.
What? That's what I'm waiting to hear. I need the autopsy report and pretty much the trajectory of, because it was up close and intentional and brutal. So maybe that will shed some light. I don't know. I hope they can connect the dots somewhere, because right now it's like prosecution is just talking, and now they're talking about bringing in financial evidence, which I don't even know how. I don't even know how the judge can allow that in without. That's going to be so tricky.
No, I don't see the financial. I don't see the tie to the crime. They can't make their tie, in my opinion. So right now, I think it should be excluded. But I think the judge is going to allow at least some of it in. And if they do, they're going to hate them.
Yeah,
the boat is the best thing to let in terms of
because he brought that up and was saying that people. So pretty much that can work for the defense, even.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, because it can suggest other motives or other potential players. If you're trying to look for alternative suspects, it's not like you have to look too hard. There's $10 million worth of other people that might have a grudge against them, and there's the people involved in the boating accident that might have a grudge against him, and all this money went somewhere, probably to some nefarious people who might have a grudge. So if you're looking for alternative suspects, you have your pool. I think the best evidence the state has so far is just sort of in the contradiction of thing. They have the Snapchat video where he's filmed wearing different clothes at like 7:40 p.m., which is like about an hour, give or take, before the murder. And so why did he change clothes? So that's something. And also he said, well, I didn't go to the kennels before I left, but we have him on video at the kennels before he left. So it's like, well, you've got at least 2 things to explain at this point. And, there's not, you're in trouble when you're explaining. So that's the best they have, but so that's a weak case. It's like, 2 things. It's like, if you're looking for a reason that, he might not remember going to the kennels, having just come upon your son with his blown out brains might somewhat skew your memory of what did or did not happen earlier that day, I would imagine. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that, you may not be in the most right thinking mind at that time. So
Right. And
so if you want an explanation, there's one.
We already kind of talked about the clothing of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that strong of evidence, because you're talking about him just getting off of work and then maybe going back to the house to go see his mom and changing his clothes before he goes to see his mom. The fresh white tee, I think, was a little bit more against him versus like if you touched the dead bodies, how did you not get blood on you? So I wouldn't say the outfit from earlier in the day is as detrimental as the white shirt not being dirty. I don't know if he tried to do CPR on them or not, but if he was as distraught as he tried to make himself seem during the call, you would think he would have grabbed them, hugged them, try to move them, all these things. So I don't necessarily think the blue shirt and khaki pants changes is that far off if he went to go see his mom.
Yeah, it's a tight time frame too.
That's it.
He's got 17 minutes max, you know, depending on because of the last activation of the phone. So assuming the last activation of the phone is also the time of the murders, which, you know, why would it be? It could be later than that. So he's got 17 minutes max to commit these murders and then go to his mom's house, and he's got to dispose of all this evidence and clean up. And you know, SLED, the state law enforcement division, was in his house the next day with consent, and they were looking around and didn't see any bloody clothes and didn't see any blood in the showers and stuff like that. So they were at least looking around and didn't see anything obvious.
But did they do a good job? Because if he
no, it's SLED.
I told you, Kurt said they're notorious for their investigations or lack thereof. I told you, Kurt's been consistent with that, if nothing else.
Right. But I'm saying if they didn't see any blood, it's not too far-fetched that he hired someone or had somebody clean up any blood traces from his clean off. They didn't do a good job with the investigation with the police came and when SLED came. So I don't know.
I have a question. Somebody else said this in the chat about like why not wait till they had a better case or something like that, since he isn't going anywhere anyways, right? He's got these financial crimes. He's gonna be locked up for a minute. But this is for Bri or Kurt. Like, why would they bring it now? Like, why is there a rush? Why would they charge him now with this? Why not wait until they feel like they have a more solid case?
I don't know. I think it was a massive strategical mistake in retrospect. You know, they have total control of when to bring these charges. They don't have to go to the grand jury. And when they go to the grand jury, it's because, okay, we're ready. And Murdaugh's like, okay, let's go. They're like, wait, no, not like that. I mean, whose fault is this? This is your fault, state. So
I just think he didn't anticipate the fact that I think the prosecution did not anticipate the fact that he was going to say, okay, speedy trial, let's go. They thought it was going to be, we'll do a hearing.
Are you saying the Attorney General's office of South Carolina made a massive boo-boo?
Maybe they thought it would be probably like a lot of other cases where the defendant is sitting in jail for 3, 4, 5 years before they actually get to trial.
Yeah, I like this baller move. It seemed to have paid out really, really well. And I think that there's some non-zero chance that they wind up irritating everyone so bad from this case that they wind up prejudicing all their financial cases. You know, because if they leave a bad enough taste in the collective community's mouth, it doesn't exactly help you when you're going to a future jury. It'd be like, let me convict you for the financial crimes. It's like, but we hate you because you guys suck. So I think there's a real chance of some negative repercussions in the future here. So that's great.
They're trying to bring the financial stuff into the criminal case.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. I for the vast majority, I don't see it. There's just a huge question mark. The best they have is that he was confronted that day about this $792,000 check, but it wasn't the first time he was confronted about that check by his law partners. He had been confronted about that exact same check like a week earlier or something. And it also happened that as he was being confronted about that, he gets the phone call that his father is in desperate situation, you know, is on his last legs and would in fact die. It was 2 or 4 days later. So, you know, they weren't making it up. And of course, as was already testified from the accountants, it's like, well, we moved on to other things. You know, he's our friend, he's our colleague. We're going to confront him. I mean, that's that. And like, even with like later that week, he was supposed to have a hearing on this boat case. Like, you're not going to get you'll get a motion to defer. I mean, his father being sick is going to buy him 2 weeks easy. So, you know, if he was concerned about that, it wasn't his first time being confronted. And, his father would give him additional breathing room to fix the problem. So I'm not sure that really works as a motive.
Yeah, I
don't think it does.
Tie it together. They really have to tie pretty much what, if anything comes in, it has to be up to June 7th or the 10th, at least that week. And all the stuff in August, September, it may be somewhat related, but after the fact, pretty much, why did he do that day? He got confronted by his coworker or by the office. At least something to make it make sense.
He'd have to be a cold MFer too. He'd have to be a so cold guy. It's like, I get the call about my father going to the hospital on his deathbed with my mother having the dementia patient. I'm like, yes, today's the day I'm going to annihilate my family. I'm in no way distracted by this information. Plan is a go, man. I mean, geez, how much of a sociopath is this guy? Damn.
But they said he was supposed to leave, or they thought he got the call and he left, but he wasn't. He was in another office working on the financial discovery or whatever he had to turn over for the boat case. So he didn't even leave when he got the call about his father. He was still trying to maneuver things and work out things with his money for that case. So I don't know.
Which in some sense might go to the idea that he thought he could buy himself some time, because he's like, well, maybe I can move some stuff around because this is going to give me more time to get everything in a row. So,
but that still doesn't explain why he would kill them.
No, the motive to kill them is not great. Their property is, mortgaged out the ass. The financial situation is horrendous. So he doesn't inherit. Really, there's no life insurance. If it's a family annihilator thing, well, he did kind of a poor job of that since Buster's still alive. So there's that problem. So I don't, nothing. I'm not really sure what in fact happened at this point. I don't know what's going on.
He would just have to be crazy or something, because none of these motives line up, in my opinion. There's no money. There's the worst thing, probably the son potentially going to jail for the manslaughter, but I don't see how that really affects Alex versus his son, other than spending money on his trial, maybe money that he doesn't have, but he's not responsible for paying for his kids' trial. Let him get a public defender.
At least for the moment, if you're asking me, I'm a no vote, no to convict on this issue. I just, I'm not going to let speculation and, get you home. It's like, oh, maybe he hired people, and maybe he hired someone to clean someone up, and maybe his wife confronted him that very night, and maybe this and maybe that. Like, if you have evidence of any of those things, that'd be great. But since you don't, I'm not going to consider the non-evidence. Oh, that was my favorite part too. That was the part of the trial where I truly lost my shit, because I was really impatient. Where I really lost my shit was where they brought in the fingerprint expert to testify to the non-fingerprints. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. It's like, I'm a fingerprint expert. I've been doing this 20 years. I found nothing. That's great. Just wonderful information. Wow. Thank you for that, State. That was valuable. Waste of my time.
Okay. Brent says, did you notice the start of the 911 recording is silent except the dog barking until he thinks the tape started, suddenly turns on the crying? I think I heard that tape, but I guess if you were already crying, you would be crying. But some people, they don't start crying until they start talking too. So
that's exactly what I was about to say, because I can hold my stuff together. I mean, even recently I had to do some stuff on Instagram while I was in the hospital, and I was like holding it together. And the moment I started speaking, I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work right now. So that doesn't mean much to me that you couldn't hear the audible crying until he started speaking. That
right.
And even
that's not enough.
Him trying to get his, okay, I have to talk. I have to, like if you've just been through this traumatic, seeing this and you call 911 and it like just getting it out. I can see that pause. That pause is realistic.
Yeah. And I mean, if he's guilty, then nobody wants him to be held accountable more than me, right? Like I said, I grew up with these kind of folks, right? But I just don't see it. Like I would love for it to be true. If he's guilty, great. And that's kind of what's pissing me off about the prosecution's what they're doing, because if he is guilty, they are not helping. Like they are helping him get away with this if he in fact had something to do and is responsible. But I could never, if I was on the jury, like I said, you couldn't get me to vote guilty based on this.
Yeah. What I found interesting yesterday was, and it was really pathetic also, the prosecution would, they would ask questions and they say nothing further and go sit down. And then defense got up on cross and clarified more.
Yeah,
I was like,
that was
what
nice.
is going on with this whole, look, if anybody saw
the prosecutor's obfuscating and defense is clarifying. This is a fun trial.
Like, oh my goodness gracious. But yeah, well, that makes sense. Well, thanks for asking the questions that they didn't bother to ask, but okay. I don't know. Crazy.
Already. And then we have Listen to Learn saying 4 million net from Maggie. Do you guys know what they're referring to there?
Is that the property, the houses?
Of how
I
much?
think she had some net worth.
Okay. Maybe that's what they mean there.
Yeah. Before him, properties were all in her name. But yeah, no, her family has money and she had her own money.
Yeah. And then we have Hilarious too saying the crime could have been committed in less than a minute. I do not argue with you there. If there's more than one well, I guess you could just have both guns. No, I don't know.
Yeah, with two
separate guns.
The issue isn't how fast the crime can be committed. The issue is how fast, I can clean up and get rid of the bloody clothes and get rid of the guns and drive over there and all that stuff. It's like that's and remember to do all those things. It's like that's a lot of stuff.
He potentially had a couple of hours, right? From the
not really. He had 17 minutes basically before he went to visit his mom. He was there for a while and then he came back, and he didn't have that long when he came back either. So
yeah. But who's to say he didn't stop? Well, I guess they will have the cell phone tracking records, but to say he stopped somewhere to clean himself up and then went to his mom's.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I would say he had a couple of hours because we don't know if he was with his mom the whole time.
That he, the time that he arrived at his mom and couldn't clean up at his mom's because she did have caregivers there, so they would have seen him if he was a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
anything's possible if he had a third party, but then the question is, who is that third party and what part did they play in it, right? Like, I mean, you're talking about cell phone evidence. I'm thinking of like all kind of wild conspiracy type things where you give somebody your phone so it doesn't. But again, it's a lot of speculation, right? Like I could make up a million scenarios, but it's not what the evidence shows, Like
if we're having to guess, it means the prosecution isn't doing a real great job.
We're all confused. We're all confused. That's the problem. Yeah.
There is mud.
Okay, we have Dabs Beats saying forensic accountant are pretty good at following money, so he paid someone else. There'd be a significant chance they'd find a money trail, especially in the time they had to investigate. Possible. And they were referring to Maggie's estate is the 4 million net worth. Then Miss C says the timeline shows his wife and son were killed at the kennel right after the son made the video of the dog Cash. Alex was there. He killed them at the kennel. Now that's what the prosecution is trying to have the jury assume, is that it happened within that 3 minutes from the Snapchat video to his phone, the son's phone never being opened again. So, and that's where they're saying it is Alex because there was such a short time frame, but who's to say there was not a second person up there with them that just didn't say anything in the video? Because he didn't necessarily show his parents in the video. You just heard the voices, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so
that is correct.
I need to talk to Cash because Cash knows some things. I'm just saying.
The dog and the house, the staff. That's what we really need to hear from. The house, the dog and the staff.
Yep. And the fact that Rogan, I believe, Paul's friend, pretty much just walked up in there next day, got the dog, left. Okay. It's so ridiculous. So much privilege.
And then we have Madalore Wise. Thank you so much for the super chat saying, currently, I'm not convinced he could have killed his family. The phone paces seems to exonerate him in my eyes. Additionally, I'm not convinced with any of the current motive theories from the prosecution. Yeah, I'm not convinced of any of the motives. You guys have any?
There have been motive theories proposed by the prosecution.
I was just about
in the
to say,
courtroom, I don't think there are.
I was just about to say, if somebody could tell me what those are, because I haven't heard them yet. None of what they've said regarding motive has clicked with me. It's a stretch. It's mental gymnastics at its finest.
Yeah. So far, the jury hasn't heard anything about motive. There's all these prelim hearings about we'd like to talk about his many financial crimes.
Yeah.
He appears to have maybe stolen some money from some people.
Well, he admitted to stealing some of the money, right? He admitted to owing the
confession.
Field.
The confession is certainly some evidence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did the thing. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, no. All right. Let me see. Raypana 007 says there was millions of dollars of lawsuits against the boat death. Pop Paul. Is Pop Paul his dad?
Nope.
No, his son.
Off.
Okay. Well, it says Pop Paul. Oh, okay. The wife was prepping for a divorce and selling off land, so Alec had to act fast. If that's the motive, I haven't watched the full trial. Have you guys heard that as part of the motive?
No.
Killing
Paul doesn't stop the lawsuit.
Yeah.
It just goes to the estate.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you can sue Paul, you can sue Paul's estate. I mean, and if Murdaugh is liable, it doesn't stop Murdaugh's liability. So there's no point.
Right.
It doesn't do anything.
Right. Because if Paul was found liable, are both Paul and Alex named in the boating accident lawsuits? Do you know?
I don't remember if he was named or not, but they were at least investigating him because it was Murdaugh's dad's boat, and so there's potential liability for negligent entrustment. So I don't remember if he's being if he was named in the first instance, but there's definitely potential liability coming down the pipe.
Okay. And then we have Tracy M saying, I don't understand the problem of him changing clothes. He was out working earlier and change. We all do it. We get in comfy clothes. Thank you so much for the super chat, Tracy. I agree with you completely there. I don't think that the changing of the clothes is very strong evidence, other than maybe, which I didn't realize, the plain white t-shirt, the clean white t-shirt, but the changing out of work clothes into something a little bit more comfortable, I don't see the issue really there for me either. But thank you so much for the super chat. Do you guys have any opinion on that? I know we talked about it a little bit.
No, I mean, I completely agree. That was my theory. And then even somebody said changing into shorts. None of that is surprising or confusing or leads me to believe anything suspicious. It just, not that alone. Like if that was part of a whole bunch of other stuff that pointed, like a whole bunch of other circumstantial evidence that pointed to him doing it, then maybe. But just that alone, and even that with what we have now, it just doesn't mean much for me.
Anyone else?
Nope.
No. Okay. Miss C says Cash knows everything. That's the dog. If dogs can speak, right? All right. Let me see where we're at here.
Other dog, the one that actually killed the chicken, was it Buster?
Bubba.
Yeah.
Or was it Buster? No, Buster's the other son. Yeah.
God.
Buster's other son. Okay. Then we have a super sticker from Chris Mullen. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We can't see it here on the StreamYard, but it was a fox hugging a heart. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate it. We got Aurora Gray saying, I honestly believe he did do this because his house of cards was collapsing and Maggie was, I'm assuming, going to say the divorce part of it. But that the money, is he that money? And he might be that money motivated, but that's probably why they're trying to bring in the finances then.
I mean, I'm sure he's money motivated, but what does that accomplish? Like, what does
his motive for killing Maggie and maybe his son being there, maybe he thought he would have some effect on his money too. But we need the connections.
I mean, like I said, I don't put anything past him. I'm not caping for this dude.
Right.
I am not on his side. Like, to be clear about that. I just also do not see any clear, concrete evidence, including motive, that is like, oh, that makes sense. Yes, that is exactly why he would do that. And yep, no, I just don't. It's a mess. I just don't see it.
I think that's why they're trying to push for the finances to come in.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who was involved and what this conversation was about that the prosecution wants to bring in. I just thought it was funny because the defense was like, wait, what, who said it? Who's involved? Probably him, because and I was like, I don't even understand how that's not considered a conflict of interest, first of all, but I don't know. But
it was shadowed by a third party. Who was the third party? His law partners. Oh, okay. That sounds like not a privilege waiver to me. Oh, Lord.
Because they're easily going to say privilege, especially now that they've had time over the weekend to think about a story. I was like, oh, man, they got time to come up with something now.
I'm hoping that these financials show something that we just don't know, like that just make it so clear. But I can't imagine what that would be. I'm not a big like finance person either, but I'm just hoping that that's what the prosecution sees. Like, it's just so clear to them, and that's why they brought it when they did. And I don't know, but
for me,
I can't imagine what that would be.
The finances would be more prejudicial. Listening to those finances, I was mad at this man. I was like, you scumbag in the earth, and I can do anything. But that the evidence shows that you actually did this, or is it because I'm hearing all these horrible things done with your finances and judge all these other people through finances, that I'm thinking, oh yeah, you could do this because you've done all this other stuff, and is that then prejudicial? Am I actually looking at a straight lens, or am I looking at a, you're a scumbag? So
if we were in one of the other 16 indictments with 106 other felonies pending, that'd be great. I'd be happy to talk about that, but not so much at the moment.
All right, y'all.
I might be jumping ahead. Somebody said Buster was the second shooter. That is okay.
Buster wasn't there. He was out of town, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was.
I want him to be held accountable as much as anybody, but that's some of the stuff is a little wild.
They just don't have it. They just don't have it. And so let me take a pause right here. This is a members appreciation live stream. So if you are a member of the channel, you can actually join the live stream by going to the members community tab and clicking on the link to join us here live. If you guys are watching and you have not already hit the like button and the subscribe button, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do those things. Help us out in the algorithm. I'm having a good time. You guys are giving some good insight, and you guys have been paying attention to the case. I like it. I love it. It's a lot. It's a lot that's missing in this case.
The trial bored me so much that on Friday I confessed to the murders just to make it end on stream. It's on tape.
No. Well, you better hope they don't come after you. They're gonna be like,
if I confess, can we make this end now?
All right, we have Deacon Fatal with another super chat. Thank you so much, and also gifted memberships earlier in the stream. Thank you for supporting the channel. Saying with as tight this town seems to be, why weren't feds involved yet? Could they be involved later? The feds are probably
were involved a little bit on the financial stuff. The Secret Service was involved. We already heard from them a little bit.
And doesn't it have to like cross state lines for the feds to be involved, or am I mistaken on that?
The Secret Service does financial frauds, generally speaking. That's their primary mandate, which people sometimes forget.
Well, I mean, for the murder.
Oh yeah, well yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no connection to the murder as such. But for the banking fraud and the wire fraud, the Secret Service definitely has some thoughts.
Wasn't it the Secret Service who actually eventually broke open his phone or their software or something?
Yes.
It sure was. Yes. It sure was.
Mhm. All right. And then Chris Mullen says, I wonder if they had a fight. Is it possible that Paul's death was an accident? 2 to the head? I don't know. Did they grapple with the shotgun and it went off? Why was Maggie shot in the knees? So much weird stuff about this. Do you guys have any comment on that?
No, that's why I said I can't wait to hear about
The autopsy.
trajectory and all of that in the autopsy, because I don't know if it will, with this whole case, who knows if it will tie anything together, but it would probably, I don't know, maybe I'm just morbid. It would make more sense to me knowing how it happened. And like, was it from behind? Was it in the front? I want to say they said that Maggie was already down when she got shot in the head. So I don't remember, but these are things I need to know. Not that it's going to make or break, my determination on guilt or innocence, but for me, it would tie a couple of things together just to make sense, especially considering who's there, and I need to really go online and look. Like I said, I have real life to deal with, so I haven't looked at the really detailed version of this kennel and the map of the house, but where was he at off screen and where was she at? Like, I saw the picture of the chicken on top of the cage, but where was that? And like all that in relation to everybody being shot, all of that. I need to know. As Emily D. Baker says, I've got questions.
Yeah, I'm sure more information is going to come out on that. We have Alpha Berry, my honey bun, bunches of oats, is saying he's paying for 3 memberships today. Who needs it? I already told him that I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you gift a membership, can you pick who gets it or it just randomly gets it?
It automatically does it.
Okay.
Is there a setting? Because I know on Twitch you can change the setting to choose. Most people just do like random. Is that not an option on YouTube? I've never.
Not as far as I'm aware.
A desktop. Oh, okay. I think it might just have to be random. Like,
I just learned how to do it Thursday when Marianne Williams told me how to do it.
Yeah, so Alpha is going to be giving some memberships to the channel. Thank you so much, love. Where are you? You're supposed to be here on the live stream. It's like 2 hours late. Okay. Lori Leany says, I am subscribed, but I have joined a paid membership. Am I here illegally mods? Oh no. So the stream is public, but if you're a member, you're able to join the live stream. So no, this is a public live stream. So you're able to kick her off right now. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's a public live stream. All right. You didn't sneak in the club. It's okay. All right. Let's see.
I'd be more than happy to drop off if somebody else wants to come on.
No, we still have room. I think I could do like 8 people. Just no one has come. The link is in your membership community tab. So feel free to come on. And YouTube or StreamYard, whoever this is, does not allow me to show, but we have, what do we have? We have J. Michael RN gifted 5 Boss Attorney Bri memberships. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. He is also a member himself. Thank you so much. So there should be a couple of people getting some memberships. Thank you, everyone that's gifting the memberships. Let's see.
I need to sign off for now because I have a little bit of work to do this afternoon. But it was nice hanging with you and seeing you all.
Yes, thank you for stopping by.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, you have a good day. Bye. All right, so guys, if you want to watch the trial live, I know Kurt is covering it. I know Emily D. Baker is covering it. I don't know who else. I think Rakeda Law is also covering it. So if you want to check it out full on live, follow one of those, or you guys are probably already subscribed, but subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But J. Michael RN's memberships went to Sue Herman, Kirsty, Rare in the History, Mir Flan, and Worldo Frost. Welcome to the Boss Attorney Bri membership. If you would like to join the live stream and give your opinion, feel free to go into the community tab for the members and join us live. Let's see. Where are we at? I'm so behind in the chat.
There's a comment here from biographer that just stuck with me, and it said, "See Wag the Dog," a 1997 Barry Levinson film, and they asked, "Is the prosecution pointing to distraction as his motive?" Which I thought about it's been like ruminating in my head, but to me that if that was his motive, distraction from, I guess, like the financial crimes, it had the opposite effect, I think, because if anything, it's certainly making us look even more closely at the financial issues. So if distraction was the motive, he's an even bigger idiot than we thought. Because
wait, so he was trying. They're saying the motive was so that he can get distraction from the financial cases. So he killed his son and his wife.
I mean, some criminals have done goofier things, but I don't see that for this case. I can see that for other stuff, right? And even some criminals have admitted to stupid stuff like that. But like this one, I don't see that being the case.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if that one lines up for me.
It's just stuck in my head. Like, could distraction have been? Could he have thought like this would work? Like, no, I don't see that. I don't know if anybody else does, but I don't see that.
I want to throw something out. What's been going on in my head, and just looking at his reactions while we're watching in court. What if he paid somebody to kill Maggie, and Paul, they killed them both, and he didn't really want Paul to be killed, because when he talks about Paul and that he is very emotional, where in everything he barely talks about Maggie at all.
I have noticed that. Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when you guys were saying, well, was it an accident? Could they have been fighting? And my thought was like, with Paul, no. But if anything, and again, this is speculation because we don't have we don't have all those details. But if anything, to me, I could see it being Maggie have been the target and Paul have been, oops, we gotta take care of that too because of the situation, especially with Paul's being like pretty quick, like to the head or whatever, but then Maggie's kind of being a little bit messier. I could see the target being Maggie and then Paul being the sort of collateral damage, which would explain a lot in terms of, yes, his emotions about it and the way that he talks about Paul. And yeah, then that makes more sense in terms of, if you start thinking about the motives, then the motives that have been thrown out there make a little bit more sense if you take Paul out of the equation as a target, as an intentional victim of the crime. Not a ton more sense, but at least a little bit more.
Well, I don't know if this was part of the trial or if I've heard this separately on Emily, but there was something about, she owned the properties. He didn't own the properties. Their properties were put to her name because of the liability from the boating accidents. And he went to the bank to get some financing, some loans, and they were going to hold the properties for collateral, even though they're already, and she wouldn't sign. Now, I don't know if that was in the evidence or if I heard that separately. It's all confusing now.
I really wouldn't know because, like I said, I haven't been watching it as deep. But I could see how that can happen. But if he was there during the murders, let's say he's not the one that actually pulled the trigger, and let's say he hired two dudes to come do it for him, I would almost, if it was only one person, I would almost imagine that they would shoot Paul first, just because generally in a situation where someone wants to kill someone, they usually take out the man first, whether they're a young man or an older man, they're going to take out the man first. So if and I'm just assuming that Alex Murdaugh hired someone to do it. If he didn't give good enough instructions not to shoot his son, I don't know. Like that, I don't know. I don't even know where I want to go with that. We have J. Michael R. in. Welcome to the live stream. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for gifting the memberships.
Oh, no problem.
Yes. Did you have any comments about the case since you're just popping in? I asked everyone how they feel about it.
So my thing is on the financials. I'm not sure really how that plays into it. I have a lot of questions more on, it seems that the prosecution is just pulling at straws, trying to muddy something together, which is causing so much doubt in the minds of everyone. I don't really like the fact that they are using this tool marking expert. Anyone who has any experience with firearms knows that, what the guy said on Friday means absolutely nothing. Cycling around through a firearm literally means nothing. I could take one round, cycle it through gun A, plop it over in gun B, cycle it through that without ever firing it in either of them. So it means nothing.
Okay, so you're thinking that the gun evidence didn't go in the prosecution's favor?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. And then what do you think about the timeline that the prosecution is trying to paint? That it was a Snapchat video, it never got sent, and they must have been killed within that 3-minute time frame from when Paul's phone stopped working or stopped being activated.
Well, I think that 3 minutes is a little misnomer. I think, yes, that happened after the video, but what happened after his phone started pinging and stuff? He could have recorded the video, put it down. I know there's plenty of areas in rural America where we don't have transmit capability to networks and stuff. I mean, he could have put it down to, deal with something with the dog. It doesn't mean that it wasn't, that was the absolute end of Paul. I mean, there could have been other events. I think they're locking themselves into this shortened time frame, which may not be accurate.
Right. Once we hear from the coroner to get the autopsy, and then also if they have anyone for I guess they had a gun expert, but do you know if they haven't had a ballistic expert yet, or not even a ballistic expert, a crime scene expert, okay, Paul landed on face down, I think. So he must have been shot from this angle or that angle. None of that has come into place. If you guys know, let me know. Okay. Yeah. So I think they have to put all of that stuff in there for them to be able to try to prove that. But I'm thinking it was more than one person with a gun.
And I think so too. The amount of time it takes to discharge a firearm for it to reload. Do you realize that one jams, so you're going to drop it, pick up another. And we don't even have trajectory science showing were both firearms shot from the same location or near to the same location. So, I mean, if they're, from different locations, it could have been 2-3 minutes just to get between those two locations, not including picking up and charging a weapon and everything like that.
Right.
Because unless both weapons were already read, which means fully armed and chambered and ready to fire, you have to also include time to switch it from safe to fire and everything like that. That's a lot of time. And even though I'm a nurse, I'm a 10-year military veteran, so I've been around plenty of weapons.
Okay.
That was my other thought. This is pretty rural area, private property. The murder weapon is missing, and also so is Paul's cheaper gun, whatever one that was. But if you're coming out there to do something, do you bring your own weapon, or you just this is a hunting property, I'm pretty sure they have guns out here? Or did they know I can go here and this is already going to be loaded and I can just do it?
Well, that's the thing. They had to have known that the Murdaugh family had plenty of firearms, that it was, I mean, it's a hunting lodge. This isn't someone's, second vacation home. It's a literal hunting lodge with 1,700 acres of stocked land that people are known to go and hunt on. So there has to be an armory on site. So I know if it was me, use their own weapon. That way you're not going to have worry about, are they going to trace back the purchase to you, which happens sometimes when you're talking about law cases, they trace it back, track the money. Where was that gun purchased, who purchased it, and that all comes in. Whereas if you know that they're a hunting family and they have their own armory, use their own stuff. Why find something?
Devil's advocate on that one, a little bit. So a 1,700 acre property, you have kennels, you have the main house. Unless you are in the know, where are the guns most likely to be stored? I mean, unless you are told, this is where we keep these guns, this is where these guns would be, or whatever. Because, most, just thinking of hunting lodges now, they don't keep their guns down at the dog kennels. Like, they'd be kept at the main house or the main lodge. They'd be locked in there.
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that they were down at the dog kennels, so did they know the guns were going to be there for them to access? Or
well, and I think that points to one of the main questions that's been ignored is, is there any chance that it was an unknown person? And I think no, it had to be an unknown assailant, and they would know it. Because if it was a known assailant, they would know the customs of that family and where they held stuff and what they did. Now, the other question that I had from paying attention to the trial is the play on the vehicle, the 911 call, and the uncle, because this is a thing that isn't really being, I don't think has really been ironed out. So the 911 call initiated in Hampton County, and the one pickup truck was located in Hampton County. The one truck was being driven by the uncle. My real question is the second person the uncle, and was Alec with the uncle when the 911 call was made in the neighboring county? They're just trying to say that it was, there was no good signal there, so it picked up on the Hampton County cell tower, which, okay, that's not a triangulation of where the signal generated from.
You know what? One of his brothers has always been in the back of my mind, but I haven't been able to put him anywhere in particular yet. I was like, okay, he had the nephew's truck. Okay. And then I don't know if it's Randy, John Marvin, somebody, one of those brothers, they know a little bit more than they're saying. I don't know. I haven't, but that has always been a thought in the back of my mind. One of his brothers they know more than it's been alluded to. I'll just say that.
And honestly, I can't wait till the autopsy comes out. Being a medical person,
that's what I said.
Really want to hear.
I was like, I've got questions. I need to know some things.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause real quick because Alpha gifted 5 Boss Attorney Bri memberships. I thought he was gonna do 3, so thank you for that, honey. Who's supposed to be coming on the live stream, but I just hear him walking back and forth. Thank you for gifting the memberships. He gave one to Ange M. We got biographer. Here he comes. We got Mindy, we got Ali, and then we got Fat Baby Toodles. Yay! We have some new members to the channel. Thank you for gifting the memberships to the peeps.
Hey,
and if you guys want to join in on the live stream, you can do so by going to the members community tab and clicking on the link to join us. Be sure to have your camera on, and then also any AirPods or headphones so that we can avoid any echo. So thank you so much for our memberships. Are you a member?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're a member of the channel.
I'm just an employee.
So welcome, Alpha, to the live stream. Have you been paying attention to what's going on?
Yeah, I've been in the room listening.
Okay. So we're just talking about how we think the case is going so far and speculating, really, honestly. So do you have any comments?
Well, I took an hour to listen to kind of learn. So I'm still in that process.
Okay.
But I do think more information does need to be provided in regards to the case. No one commented the town, by the way. I was trying to figure out what town it is.
I don't remember the town because there's so many like connecting towns. I did see your comment, but I can't remember which town it's in.
Basically, it's Murdaugh, South Carolina.
Murder. Okay.
Murdaugh.
Okay. All right.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
From there, I also have one more chat I want to get to. We have Deacon Fatal with another super chat. Thank you so much. Saying, has the prosecution brought up chain of custody yet? That is very important for LE. Don't know what. For the
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement. Okay. For law enforcement investigation, the start of the start. Yeah. So I don't know, because let me be clear, I have not been watching the trial gavel to gavel. But there has been some comments about how the cops did a bad job. The police did a bad job, and then the state law enforcement agency did a bad job of really gathering proper evidence. I think there was some testimony that they put a sheet over the bodies when they weren't supposed to. Apparently has been no evidence talking about why he had on a clean shirt when he was first interviewed by the police, if he was touching the bodies. What else has there been? When they executed the search warrant of the home, the person executing the search warrant was being followed around, and there were multiple people in the house, just like the Joan Benet Ramsey case, where they didn't get the people out of the house. They let everybody touch
there was
everything.
like 20 people in the house. One of the people following the investigator around was the brother who's an attorney of Alec. On top of it, you only had one investigator, which, I'm sorry, if you're doing a search warrant, you should have multiples, because 2 sets of eyes is better than 1. Also, if you only had one, I'm sorry, if I was the attorney and you only have one investigator searching the house, okay, who saw them that they didn't plant it? Who saw them that they actually found it there? You know, with 2 people there, it decreases the chance of questioning the veracity of that material.
Well, the good thing about that is that they didn't find anything during that search warrant, right?
Well, that also brings into question with the fact that one of the casings was found on Paul's nightstand.
Oh, I didn't hear about that part.
That was just yesterday that they mentioned that with the, I don't know, the gun expert that they had on trial on stand all day. All day. Goodness gracious.
Yep, that, and then also the fact that they got all the casings from the gun range 4 months later. Why wasn't it all collected at the time? We do not know if any of those rounds were actually fired before the murder.
That is true.
Me being fresh ears, it just sounds like a police department that's very untrained. So I don't know what their budget is for their yearly training, but it's not there.
He's also very well known in the
I don't think it
town.
was that they were untrained. It's that they were giving deferential treatment to a rich family.
Yeah, now
I mean, you're talking about the basically you're talking about the NYPD investigating the Rockefellers.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I don't think that would even make it to the news.
What type I know Alec was a volunteer something with somebody. What was he a volunteer? Was it with the police department or with some court or something?
He was a volunteer solicitor for the district, which means he could pick up criminal charges and be a prosecutor.
Wow.
Okay.
His family has been part of the solicitor's office in that district, which covers, I think, 5 counties for over the last 100 some odd years.
Okay.
Yeah. Tanya D also in the chat and on the live stream saying to Alpha that the Moselle property is in Walterboro, South Carolina. So that's where you don't want to go.
Okay.
And don't run into Alex Murdaugh. Okay. Kizzy says it's the S that makes you ask yourself, is this real life? I thought about that. Like, as I was getting ready, you know, catching up on this, I'm like, this sounds like something that's not real. Like, you're literally hanging out with your family and you quote unquote walk away for a couple of minutes, maybe a couple of hours, and then you come back and they're just like murdered. And you're saying you're not the one that did it, and you're not the one that you don't know anything about it. It just sounds like a made up story to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any?
It sounds like a plot right out of a movie, right?
Yes,
like,
yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a movie or something.
And with the shenanigans of the whole court, it reminds me of a movie. Like To Kill a Mockingbird, A Time to Kill, like from any of the old Southern movies. I'm like, what?
If it's not already a movie, it will be.
Wandering back and forth, walking around, and nobody's objecting to anything on either side. I'm like, what is going on? This is like
it's a screenwriter's like ideal scenario, right? Like the movie is written for them. It's right there. Like somebody's on it already, I'm sure, because this is just it's bananas. It's wild.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a documentary, a movie, or something.
There's gonna be a few.
Said
go ahead.
February 22nd is going to be a documentary on Netflix, and I forgot the name because now I can't find the comment, but there's going to be a new documentary. There's one that's on HBO that I haven't seen, but there's going to be one on Netflix on February 22nd.
Maybe they're going to write a book that says, if I did it.
If
he's not that goofy. I think did that trying to get some money. I don't know that this guy's gonna need the money, and I don't think wealthy people are not always the brightest. They don't have to be. They tend to not have to be the brightest, but they usually aren't that dumb. So I don't think he's gonna do that, but I'm sure he'll find a way to profit off of it somehow.
Well, that's the thing. Did he really need the money to do the murders when he's $300,000 overdrawn and the local family-owned bank is just put extra money in his account. He's fine.
That was so crazy.
Wow. I mean, we're talking about multi-generational wealth. The dude was going to be okay. Like, money was just not enough of a motive because multi-generational wealth, this is old money. Right. Old money finds a way to not only protect itself, but to find more money. So
and to protect the other old money in the area. Because the last thing the Rockefellers want is for the Kennedys to look bad.
I don't even know what the Rockefellers look like. I really don't. I know the name. I don't know what
using it for the name.
They have documentaries on them too. I love documentaries, so
the name is on.
They have some on them, but this is how far back it goes. When I looked up where the Moselle property was, it said, "Where's the Moselle plantation?" Okay, that's how old that money is. So
yeah, I mean that might not be that long ago, honestly.
But I think in the podcast, she was saying it's like 100 years. So
yeah.
It's
they have
from the beginning for a while.
Yeah, they have the old money. Let's see. Danielle Look says his cousin drove with him to the property and got cash, so Rogan didn't see anything, but they drove right up to the kennels. And did Rogan already know about the murders at that moment or no?
Yes, because Rogan was the best friend. That was Paul's best friend. So he said he found out when he woke up. He pretty much ended up going to sleep, and he woke up and he had messages on his phone and voicemails.
Okay, so basically, I'm gonna assume this comment is reflecting how loose the police in the crime scene was, because if he
just went and got his dog and left.
Yeah. Cowpoke says his great grandfather's painting was in the courtroom they're using. It was removed for the trial. In the actual courtroom, I thought it was in the hallways.
No, it was in the.
So he pretty much, their family owns that whole town.
The city.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's some money.
That's why I was like, it's basically Murdaugh, South Carolina. That's why I made that joke, because I mean, I'm not saying it's not relevant. I'm sure people who live in that town who are not connected to the Murdaughs probably don't appreciate that. But I'm sure they also know what it feels like to be sort of smothered by, multi-generational wealth and power and influence like that. And it's probably not nice.
Even the accounting lady who handles the money at the law firm that pretty much was not having it. She was she was funny. I hope they get to bring her on at some point. But it was something she said. She was like, pretty much it's a brotherhood. She even
Exactly.
and the way she said, I was like, okay. Because I think the defense was like, well, wouldn't you have known? Shouldn't you have known earlier? She was like, I could have, but apparently he's great at lying. He just says whatever, and
Yeah, and they have
take
like
their
some
word for
hidden
it.
accounts like under DBAs and things like that to where you would think that it's going to a legitimate bank, but it was really like the bank's name, DBA Alex Murdaugh. So yeah, he was, I would say I don't know how he got that approved because you have to do that through your county or your city. But if he owns the city, then yes, you're going to get that DBA approved.
That part.
Yeah. He didn't even have to publish it in the newspaper or nothing. It just went right
DBAs
through.
are normally filed through the Secretary of State or the tax board. And honestly, unless the all variations is wordmark, normally trademark, and that it's very easy. I mean, it's the same thing. Look at, if you're from like Florida, look how many times the word peninsula is in anything.
Yeah, and so with DBAs are a little bit different than like the LLCs and the trademarks. And I'm not a South Carolina attorney, but I know a lot of states, including California, for your DBA, you only have to publish that in the newspaper for a couple of weeks, and then you just file that through your city. It's not statewide, actually. I don't know if that's true for South Carolina, but
well, I know in Mississippi, when I filed my DBA, it was I had to file it with the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah, mine's through the Secretary of State.
Okay.
And the thing too is, I mean, DBAs are really wonky anyway, because look how many companies are DBA McDonald's.
Yeah.
Because all it is a matter of licensing the name. Because if you look at some, it's like Golden Arches, Great Lakes doing business as McDonald's. Golden Arches, Pickletown doing business as McDonald's.
Right. And so he had some bank accounts set up like that, apparently, or not bank accounts set up like that, but some DBAs set up to where he pretended like it was a legitimate bank, but it was really going into his personal account. So that's probably why it took her a while to notice that was going on.
So is there any chance of security fraud going on or financial
He's
fraud?
already being investigated for finance stuff.
He's actually in jail right now. He's not out. So,
well, that's the question I had, is because he was, so all this stuff with Forge Consulting is that Forge Consulting is an annuities and structured funding organization. So does that cross over to the SEC because of that? Because it's a specialty type. I mean, I know it's not FDIC or NCUA, but
good point.
There has to be some federal cutover on that.
There might be an investigation into that as well.
Yeah, the feds are already involved with the money stuff. Daniel Look says the bank manager has criminal charges for what he did with Alex and his financial stuff. Is that what you guys were talking about? They added some extra money.
So that was the old CEO of Palmetto State Bank, Russ Lafitte. And yes, he was charged in it.
I think he's in jail already.
I believe so.
Okay.
But that's the thing too, talking old money.
Yes,
it was him, his father, and grandfather or something, like they all owned the bank.
Yeah. Okay, then we have Anjim, a new member of the channel, saying indicted on 100 charges. Yeah, he had a list on him. Jenny GA says he is being investigated for many financial crimes. Yep, that's true.
So even if he doesn't get convicted of this, he's still in jail and is not getting out of jail more than likely.
Do you think so? Because a lot of times when I see white collar crimes, they don't get a lot of jail time. Have they said what he's facing on his financial crimes?
That's a lot of counts.
I don't know, but I think somebody mentioned that because it is the FCC and it could become federal, that he could go to federal prison, which, you know, which they consider club fed. I'm like, boo, he needs to sit with everybody else, but whatever.
Well, my big thing too is not only did you have these issues with, you know, the double dealing and all that, I want to really see what's going to happen in regards to the Satterfield case, because there is so much shade there that I don't think anyone knows what really happened.
Yeah, so with that one, as far, or do you mean what's going on with the case as far as the finances go, or as far as if she was murdered or not?
What really happened? There was nefarious means and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think they've come out with what happened, like how she actually passed, but I did see some information that he admitted to owing them money. I don't know if it resulted in a full-on settlement, but back in June 2022, in June 2022, that's a lot. Yeah, he did admit to owing them over $4 million. So I want to say that case settled, but I haven't looked into it enough to confirm whether it was settled or not. But as far as how she passed away, or if he's liable for her passing away, I don't know if there's been any information on that that's come out.
All I know is on that one is they have exhumed her body to re-examine.
Yeah, I did hear that. But that was a while ago, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anything?
Uh-oh. We got some weird sounds coming in.
I'm going to drop off. Thanks for inviting us. This was lots of fun.
It was nice to meet
you. Hopefully we can do it again. Well, we will do this again. This is a good time. All right. So let's see. We'll see Jane in the chat probably next week. Let's see. We got Zoe saying 99 crimes, but murder is not one, at least the way the prosecutor is presenting this so far. That's what it's coming off as. That's what it's coming off as. And maybe they jumped the gun on starting the case before they can find out. I'm gonna say there's somebody else that's involved, and they probably should have been charging him for conspiracy versus straight up murder.
Yeah, I think my conclusion, but my conclusion as of right now is that he likely had some involvement or something to do with his wife being killed. I don't know that he did it himself. I still think that there's a third party involved. I think that tends to be his MO, and tends to be the MO of a lot of people in his position of power and influence and whatnot, and money. And I do think that his son was probably a casualty of that, or like was not an intended target. I think that's where I'm at right now, just based on everything. And again, I couldn't say that he's guilty one way or another right now, but if I had to come to a conclusion based on everything we know so far, I think that's where I'm at, is that the wife might have been the intended target, and that he's involved, but it's not him directly.
Not pulling the trigger,
Not pulling the trigger, right.
Nope. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is why I don't know why they didn't wait to just do this correctly. Well, again, I still have my theory about why they didn't wait. I still think this is, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I do. I think this is the age. I really do think this is the age, which thank you for the entertainment, but
you're right.
I don't know. The prosecutor seems to really, really want to prosecute him. He seems to have a hard on to bring in these financial crimes. I don't remember his name. The one who's always getting hyped. Like, dude, the jury not even in here. Why you yelling like that? You don't need to make a point like that. Just ask the question. So yeah, that one particular one, I can't even think of his name. The lead attorney on that one. But who knows?
All right, we got Kizzy with a super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Thank
Saying
you.
drug trafficking and money laundering charges too. As for Murdaugh,
He's gonna be on the next Drugs Inc.
I haven't heard of that one. I don't know if you guys have heard of the drug trafficking and money laundering charges.
Wow.
That has not popped up on my timeline yet, but definitely will look into it if it does pop up. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right. I think there was something else. Oh, there was something else that I had on my mind, which was probably the last thing that I wanted to touch on, but Hella Swanky was talking about it, but I can't remember what it was. It was something. What do you remember what you just said, Hella Swanky? I can't remember.
About this being theater or about
Yep, I remember. You didn't even get to it, but I remember now. Paul being collateral. So some of the articles are asserting that Maggie was the collateral one and Paul was the intended target. Have you heard anything about that?
That makes more sense, especially with the fact that Paul was facing all the problems with the boat accident.
Right. So they said it was because he was receiving death threats about the boat accident.
But what does killing him accomplish? I mean, obviously there's no more, I guess, prosecution or
it's called vengeance.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it was a non,
so you're saying
one of the girls died.
So he's the target, but Murdaugh is not the one who did it.
Yeah, that he was not.
Okay.
Right.
That does make sense. Yes. So if he's not involved at all, if Murdaugh's not involved at all, then yeah, that makes complete sense, and I could see that, and I don't necessarily feel bad about it, but yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
But then. Yeah. And then I guess that would make sense if maybe they got to Paul first, because it's just what really kind of interest, it might not be the right word, but what is intriguing or interesting to me is that there's such a difference based on what I've heard, between how Paul was killed and the wife. Like Paul seems to be just like pretty clean, like straightforward, whereas Maggie seems like she was down first or her knee was shot. Like it was a little bit messier. So my thinking was like, who was there a struggle with one of them? Did they get one? There was a struggle with the other? Or
with Maggie, she was hit 3 times center mass, and then went down, and then was shot at least twice in the back of the head. So she could have been still moving around and whatnot, and they just finished her off. Whereas if you look at the reported damage, it sounds like hers was actually cleaner versus him, which was extremely rage-filled when you're talking blood and brain matter at the feet and everything. Like his is a lot more messier, much more rage-filled, is how I'm hearing it.
Okay, I had heard, and I haven't followed that closely. I'm getting all of my stuff from other sources, so that does make a lot more sense, because I had heard it
the actual murder weapon. If you want someone to suffer, if you want pain, if you want destruction, shotgun. If you want it clean, smooth, and done, a rifle.
Okay.
You're getting shot with the shotgun, except like point blank head. Yeah. People could technically survive from it.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about multiple little bullet pellets hitting you versus a high velocity solid fragment that's
precise
20 to 30 times the size.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw that those speculations online, which again defense will have to come forward with some evidence of that he was getting death threats. But at the same time, if he was getting death threats and the person was coming to that area, let's say it did happen within that little 3-minute time frame that the prosecution is alleging, they just missed Alex, because I think shooting Alex would be more appropriate if this was someone else coming after Paul than Maggie. So did they wait for Alex to leave? So I don't know if I am all the way on board with maybe it was someone else. I still think that Alex had something to do with it, but I was wondering what you guys thought about
what you just said brings up another possibility, which of course all these possibilities mean that there's reasonable doubt. But
right.
the other thing is it could have been one of the individuals who were messed over by Alex, and they're like, well, he's making us suffer from losing our loved one. Let's make him suffer.
Cartel
And then
style.
also what Bri just said about the defense has to bring all this evidence. No, the defense does not need to bring any evidence. They need to bring questions. They don't have to prove anything. They just need to plant enough seeds, which they don't have to do much work on that, because I mean, the prosecution's literally saying, well, is it possible? Well, is it possible? Well, is it possible? Well, if there's that many possibilities, that's called doubt. And that's all the defense really needs to say.
Yeah, the other thing in terms of, like, this is why I said before that there are dozens of possibilities and scenarios, right, that we can come up with, which I think goes back to what J. Michael RN was saying about there being tons of reasonable doubt. Something Deacon Fatal mentioned was that this family sounds like a cult, right? And I agree in the sense that it sounds like a cult or organized crime, but that's often how wealthy families are, where they will do anything to protect themselves, but themselves being the wealth, like, right? Themselves, they are the wealth. And so they will do anything, including taking care of or unaliving their own members, or more expendable members, right, for the greater entity. And so, like, I could see, you know, somebody, especially with all of the drama that the son had brought with these issues and the death threats and I could see that being a possibility too, that somebody, and again, this goes back to, I don't think that it was Alex Murdaugh himself. Whether he was involved or not, okay, but I just don't think he was the trigger man.
And that's the problem with how they charged the crime.
Exactly.
They did not charge it with the possibility of the other. So
conspiracy
this
or
is the thing. Even if, correct me if I'm wrong, Bri, if he is found not guilty of murder, they cannot bring it up on the other, because the jeopardy is to the events that occurred. So jeopardy would be attached. So I'm sorry,
right.
I think that it's been a shoddy prosecution that, and this is the thing I noticed too lately. There's been a running issue with prosecutors and whatnot lately, bringing, horrible cases to trial. That's all getting picked up on social media. That's making us wonder, are they doing anything? I mean, we have this case. We have the case with the deer out in New Mexico, which is like, I was watching, I'm like, you spend 1 hour watching Law and Order, and you could do a better criminal investigation than they even did.
Right.
And you have the Dean murder in Texas, which, he ended up getting found guilty, but there was enough questions in how that was. You have this whole, I know someone mentioned Baldwin. I think that the police are actually investigating that one more so than, and I'm reserving judgment on that case, because he's made enough errors himself that he's going to get convicted anyway. So that's not really on law enforcement. The other ones are, law enforcement, what are they doing? Yeah. They're not even doing the most basic of investigative steps.
Yeah, that's where my statement came with the training, because, professionally, you would think people would do their job to their fullest capacity, but
we're talking law enforcement. No, they just enforce whatever they want to enforce. I am pulling up this chat for Deacon Fatal because gifted 5 more Boss Attorney Bri memberships. Thank you so much. You've been supporting the live stream. Thank you so much. We have
Deacon, yes, you can survive shotgun shots, except when they remove half of the skull.
Yeah, that is true. Zoe is a new member. We have Dog Foster Mom 2018, a new member. We have Daniel Look, a new member. Elin, I hope I'm saying that right, new member. And then Charlene Andrea, a new member. Thank Deacon Fatal for getting you the membership. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We definitely appreciate it. All right, let's see. I'm going to check on some more comments, but then unless you guys have any other parts of the trial that you want to talk about, I think we're going to be getting off of here pretty soon. So let me know if there's something else you want to cover, but I'm going to go through some comments really quick. Let's see. We have Leah Wren saying, why do the men always talk way more than the women? And oh, are you talking about on the live stream? Okay, Lily said, okay, let's see. Hilarious 2 says, I don't think the jury will be his fan club when all the evidence is revealed. I don't know. It seems like they're not putting too much of the relevant evidence out there to make that connection of he's the one that did it.
Right, because a lot of that, all the financial stuff has not been determined if it's coming in, what's coming in. So, and I'm just confused on the judge and how he's taking his time to go through that. So I'm not going to try to worry about it, but possibly if a lot of because that's the thing, I don't know, the jury isn't sequestered, but a lot of the stuff we know, the jury doesn't know because a lot of the testimony, like the lady from his job who went through all the records and confronted him, they don't know that yet. Like they didn't have all of that and all the different pieces and about Maggie's property, which was another thing. I was like, why not even mention Maggie's property? I was like, whatever, man, y'all killing me with this.
Well, but they're not bringing in the financial for purpose of the financial crimes or for the motive of it. The way that the financial information is getting brought in is on character grounds. And that's why they have to be careful on how they're doing it. That's why if you watch some of the other streams like Natalie Lawyer Chick, she had a lot of difficulty figuring out where people were coming in with this, the door being open. And it really is, the core question is, it wasn't that the friends were talking stuff. It was that the defense attorney asked Rogan, I think, is there any circumstance that would lead you to believe that Alex would murder his wife and child?
Right.
That
So
brings up the question of character. So they have to be able to narrow that financial information into character actions to be able to dispel the good character argument.
But being a bad person financially wouldn't necessarily cross over to now I'm going to kill my family. Man, I might kill somebody else's family, but my own family, I think that the finances go more towards motive than character, in my opinion.
Well, but
if they can prove
the question was, is there any circumstance that he could do this? Well, then you could bring in, well, is there any circumstances that you could see he's still $5 million from the family of his housekeeper who died on his property? Can you see a case where he's stealing XYZ from this person who is a victim?
Yeah, but stealing and murder, I guess more character will be.
But it goes to the character. You didn't know him well enough to say that you don't know a circumstance where he would kill. You don't know him that good. You don't know his truth.
I mean, I guess so, but that could be the same thing as, oh, have you ever seen him getting? That's more of his character, because character as far as violence goes, but financial doesn't really translate. To me, it doesn't really translate over to murder. Like that's a big jump for a lot of people. I might write a bad check, but I'm not gonna stab somebody. I don't know, am I off? But more like if he's constantly starting bar fights, like yes, there is a situation where he could do this thing because he's always getting into fights everywhere he goes. He gets into the fight with his son. That's his character, is to argue with his son, push his son around. I don't know if character would go towards. it's more for motive for me, but you know, the jury,
and that's what the
can think
judge
something
gets
else.
to decide.
Right.
Right.
has
I don't
ruled on
envy the
that.
judge. Right. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
envy the judge in this situation because
no, because like you can say this, but don't say this. And the way this whole court excludes objections, I don't know how they're. I mean, the prosecution, every question is a leading question. It's ridiculous. They'll just be like, so did blah, blah, blah. Yes. Like they'll ask, like, so does this say $5,698.39? Yes. Well, you, instead of just saying, what does this say? They ask the leading question, and it's crazy. But defense doesn't object. Pretty much defense is pretty much giving a whole narrative over here. It's like hearsay. The prosecution doesn't object, and so everything just goes. I'm like, what is going on? So if something isn't supposed to get in and it does, I don't know if they would even object to it, because nobody objects really. They let a lot of things go on for way too long.
Which kind of
and they
brings
don't make proper objections either. That's the other thing.
Improper objection. What's your reasoning? Improper.
Yeah.
Like, what? Improper what?
I have a question that's sort of random, but the train of thought, let me hear. And Zoe said, why can't the jury take notes? That was my question and as well. So one, do you, Bri, know of any reason why a court would not want a jury to take notes? And is that, I don't think it's specific to this trial. I don't know if it is. And then two, can exceptions be made or accommodations, especially for like neurodivergent people or people with disabilities or anything like that? Or would they just like kick us off
they probably would have got you off the jury very early on, honestly.
Right.
But as far as the notes thing, from my understanding, it's their court's local rule. But don't quote me on that. That's
what I've heard too.
That I've looked up is that's their court local rule, and so that's the rule they follow. If they wanted to get that, out of the way, they would have had to make some motions and things like that. And I'm not a South Carolina attorney, so I don't know how easy that would be or how hard it would be. So,
and can you think of any reason for that? Like, I can't think of any reason that, I don't know who that benefits or hurts more. I guess it benefits the defense more to me, but I can't think of a solid reason why you would not want a jury to take notes.
My thing is, I feel like it might have come, and this is just me guessing, it might have come from like a very long time ago, and they almost saw like taking notes as a distraction versus beneficial. Like if you're allowed to have your phone, you're texting, or you get a notepad paper and they get it back and you're just drawing pictures of happy faces or something like that. You're not really paying attention to the case. That's my guess, but I've never heard of this, honestly.
Right, which really sucks, because for pretty much anybody who has ADHD or some other neurodivergency knows that doodling and stuff like that can actually help you focus. There are times where I will doodle or use even my switch because it'll help me focus. So I think it's just interesting, and it does make sense that would be like a really old sort of rule before they knew better, before they understood, before we had a better understanding of how brains and memory and thought processing works.
That would just be my guess, but I have no idea. But I think law and lumber practices closer. South Carolina and Virginia are right next to each other, right? I think he might have more information on that than I do. Gotcha. All right, we have Deacon Fatal with another super chat. Thank you so much. Alpha with the claps.
Deacon Fatal going ham today.
Yes, Deacon Fatal. Saying, do we know about the mental state in general? I would let him talk, and I would love to hear the initial interview. I watch way too much Murder, She Wrote. Are we talking about the mental state of Alex Murdaugh specifically? I don't think there's any concern in mental state for him, and they did show the first interview. I think they're going to end up showing all the interviews, or at least 4 of them. I don't know how many there were in total, but they did show the first interview. I haven't watched it. Have you guys watched the interviews? Okay. Any opinions on how he was behaving in them?
I will just say, because that's what I do. I study people. I'm a social worker therapist. So by profession, pretty much people act differently all the time. You can't say how somebody's going to act. From personal experience, outside of being a professional, I remember when I got called and had to go to my dad's house when they told me something happened to him. But I'm a crisis worker. And technically, I didn't break down until the next morning. And like Hella Swanky said, pretty much I had to call my friend, my best friend, to tell her. Pretty much at that point, I literally had my mouth open and no words came out. She was like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I could not say it. It got stuck. When I was there, pretty much because I'm the social worker, I'm the oldest child. You go in the house first. I'm like, I don't want to go in there. What am I going to see? I had to mentally prepare myself pretty much for what I was going to see. Thankfully, I didn't see anything, but I wasn't crying. I wasn't upset but that's what I do. Technically, I'm a crisis worker. I calm down. Pretty much, I'm not going to be, frantic and crying and all that. I'm going to do what I need to do. This is blah, blah, blah. So for him in the car, I don't know. But watching him in court, I will say, paying attention to body language, pretty much when the jury's in there, his whole demeanor is completely different. Pretty much that rocking back and forth, and they'll play tapes. And if he is genuinely upset at some points, pretty much, I'm not saying he isn't, because he can still be sad about it, even if he had it done, if he did or if he didn't. But when they were doing the in-camera testimonies or whatever, pretty much no jury, pretty much he didn't blink. He had a deadpan stare. He had that blank.
He has a weird.
And he wasn't rocking, not one bit. He stared directly at those people. It was, you could see his whole demeanor change, but he had the whole rocking and he was so upset when the jury was in there. That's calculated. So, but I do think sometimes he is genuinely upset, because I don't know if he's upset for himself or somebody else.
Right.
But from he did have, I think on the 911 call, somebody walked by and he was, he was upset and crying, talking to whoever was on the phone, and somebody walked by. He was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And then he was upset. Bruh, stop.
Yeah.
You turning it on and off too much. So I don't know. I think he's calculated.
Yeah, there's a reason I don't tend to put too much weight or stock into how people react and how people respond and how they're looking. Every now and then, like, I really do trust my instincts, right? So every now and then I'll see a witness interview or a suspect interview, and something will just be like, something's not right. That feels fake or forced or whatever. But I also try to keep in mind, like, I know for me, so I have an invisible, and there's a reason I'm saying this. I have an invisible disability, right? So that means that sometimes I will park, even if it's a day where I'm not using my wheelchair, I will park in a disabled spot. I've had people come up to me and accost me and say, "You're not disabled, blah, blah, blah." Well, what that has done over time has sort of taught me to let my disability or even my pain be a little bit more visible to people as a way to sort of like protect myself. I'm not saying that's the case with him. I'm just saying that when I started doing it, I didn't even realize it at first. It was like somebody else who sort of pointed it out. And the same thing happens if I'm in the hospital, because I deal with chronic pain over 30 years. I'm used to the pain. So mine does not manifest the same way it would for somebody who's dealing with an acute situation. So I have sort of learned subconsciously to let my pain be more visible, to let it be more audible, to like tell people, because otherwise they'll look at me and say, "She's not in any pain. Like, she's fine. Like, she looks," and I could be like in a world of hurt. What I'm saying is, the point is, I wouldn't put too much stock into that. I do agree with Tanya D in the sense that I feel like he is more aware and more conscious of like, oh, jury's present. I should not look like I don't care. I should not look, apathetic. And so I do think that there's a little bit of consciousness there in terms of like, yes, the rocking and like his body language and like how he's coming across. But again, I don't get that. Whereas usually for people, I'm like, oh, he's faking, or they're doing way too much, or they're not doing nearly enough. I don't get that with him. It's a little bit more like complex and nuanced with him, which is why I'm not totally relying too much on all of that.
Yeah, on his behavior. And it could be just that he's grown up like that. He's one, in our words, owns the town. And then on top of that, he's a lawyer. So he may know how to turn things on and off, not because he's guilty, but just because it's kind of second nature to him. So, but I haven't watched the videos of him with the interviews yet. I'm going to watch them. So hopefully I have more information for you on that next time we stream. But I hope that gives you a little bit of insight onto how his behavior may or may not be influencing the jury. Okay, we have Kizzy with a super chat. Thank you again.
I'm going to say bye quickly. I have to go act like a nurse somewhere.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining live.
Thank you for your service, Nurse J.
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone. And I look forward to watching more of the trial.
Yes. Thank you. You have a good day. All right. And then there was 3. Okay. Let's see. Super chat here from Kizzy. Thank you so much. Saying, if y'all read about Spencer Roberts, Jerry Rivers, and Cousin Eddie, you'll see why Murdaugh chose a speedy trial for these charges alone. I am not familiar with any of those cases. Are you guys familiar with those? No?
Cousin Eddie is the person he hired to kill him.
To kill himself. That's so crazy to me. But no, I haven't seen his case. I haven't seen what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check on the Spencer Roberts and Jerry Rivers though.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Kizzy. I will be looking that up.
Yeah, and if you dropped another comment about that, I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm so behind right now. I'm trying to catch up.
A lot of chats.
Trying to catch up. Okay, we have Brandy Thacker saying, I could stare down someone talking about money and then not be able to bear someone talking about my kid and wife who were slaughtered. Okay, so that was, I guess that's into connection of what's happening when he's in front of the jury and then outside of the jury. I don't know if they've been talking about all of that stuff while the jury's out, but yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know because I haven't watched the trial. Andrew M says, that's what I was thinking to say to Phoenix Meridian. I don't know what you're referring to there. Okay, Elin, thank you so much for the super chat saying when the jury is there, they're talking about the murders. When the jury is gone, they're talking about financials. And I think that goes towards the same thing that Brandy was saying as far as if his emotions are there or not in front of the jury. So I'll have to double back on that and see what it looks like. But for me, he gives blank stares. He doesn't seem to have very much emotion to me, but I will say,
and somebody said it in the comments, I agree. Part of it is the lawyer in him. He pretty much has, he just kind of has a look like it's a job almost. But I don't know. I will say, I don't remember I think it may have been the Snapchat video in the kennel.
Yeah.
From when he cried, I do believe that was genuine. Because he was seeing, I mean, regardless of whether or not he lied and said he was there or not, he could hear his son's voice.
Yeah, last moment too.
Even if he, like I said, whether he did it or not, or had somebody do it, that was still his child. And again, I don't know about the wife. I don't know how much he cared, since their relationship was as good as it could be, according to him, which I don't know what that really means, but yeah, I think that was a genuine cry when he heard his son's voice. Just like the friend Will, when he watched the video, he saw the video of them, one of the Snapchat videos, and he smiled like, oh, there's my friend. So, I think that cry that he had when he heard that, when he saw that Snapchat, that was truly genuine. But the rest, I don't know. Maybe not. I think maybe it can be upsetting and not causing him to be tearful.
Yeah.
And I think most of us are able to turn it on and turn it off, not even consciously, right? But if he's in lawyer mode, right, and then you hear something like your son's voice and it's the last time, or you know that it's right before your son was hurt, and again, he would have to be like a sociopath to have zero feelings about his son being hurt, whether he was involved or not. And I don't know that he is. I'm not about to armchair diagnose that man, but it's possible that he could, have been like in lawyer mode. Then you hear your son's voice and it sort of like breaks that like what Tanya D was saying. I mean, that's totally possible. And again, I hate to sound like I'm defending this man. I'm not. I'm just, trying to be objective.
And then we have Lori Leaney saying cousin Eddie has received about $225,000 from Alex. Alex has pled guilty. Cousin Eddie is pleading not guilty. Is that for his involvement with his own case?
Apparently, I don't know if it was court something that was said or not, but I read or saw where he was saying, Eddie was saying that no, that wasn't the case. I don't know. I don't know, child. It's just all speculation at this point. It's everything's so convoluted. But basically, it was like, oh no, we weren't trying to, that wasn't the case. So that's not what I was hired to do. And we were arguing, and I was trying to take the gun from him, and it went off. So like the story changed. Just like, okay, I don't know. Either way, that's been settled. He pled guilty. I think cousin Eddie, I don't know if he's in jail, but he does have representation, and he is on the witness list. I just hope he don't come in a blue leisure suit. But you have to be a certain age to even understand that reference.
Not a leisure suit.
No, cousin Eddie was from National Lampoon movies, Christmas Vacation, and the regular one. He wore this tacky blue leisure suit with the big collar and white shoes. Cousin Eddie lived in a trailer. Yeah.
White shoes is wild.
Yeah.
I'm just making a poll that Hello Swanky suggested. And this is going to probably be about the end of the stream. I am asking, is Alex guilty of murder? And the options are guilty, not guilty. I'm not giving a neutral this time because the chat always picks neutral. So we're going to go guilty, not guilty. You got to pick one. Don't skip the vote.
And just FYI, I got this idea was from Destin Nene. So this was.
Oh, okay.
I just passed along the idea. So I want to make sure I give credit to Destin Nene. I think it's a really good idea to see where we're all at on this.
Good idea. Good idea. Thank you so much for the suggestion, Destinene. I just saw the name pop up. If you guys have not already, go ahead and hit the like button. This is a cool stream. I really was not expecting too much to be going on today. But I am happy that everyone came to join in and hear our opinions, hear the members' opinions. Hopefully next time more people would join in on the that are members so that you can, exercise your membership. Okay.
And quick question, is this poll based on the evidence that we have so far or what we feel in our little hearts?
It should be based on the evidence. I should have made that clear, but a lot of people already voted. So
a lot of votes came in.
Whatever answer we get now, we get it. Don't avoid the poll just because you don't want to choose, okay? I know we're neutral. We're team neutral over here a lot of times, but I see a lot of guilties coming in. So
I know.
Dog Foster Mom 2018 says, I believe he's guilty in one way or another, but they have not proven it. And I think that's kind of where I stand. Yeah. I think he's involved in some way or another, but they have not proven it. I put not guilty because of that, because based on the facts, I don't think he's guilty, but I think he's guilty though.
Okay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he did it.
With another super chat. Thank you so much. Saying at this point, I will end on the same thing I mostly end on. I'm too broke to worry about right folks issue.
I think they're rich folks.
Yeah, rich folks issues. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
We're just here commenting on Saturday.
It's also why I don't mind speculating on their misdeeds and misgivings, especially this family.
Right.
Misfortunes.
Yes. So yeah, I definitely understand that. Thank you so much for all the super chats, all the memberships that were gifted. Hopefully next time you'll come on to the member live stream. I'll check out a couple more chats, give you a couple more minutes to get those votes in. Guilty is winning still. Guilty is winning.
Wow.
Landslide almost.
Yeah. David WM says he could have declared I guess bankruptcy when he still had his license and had a chance to rebuild instead of, I'm sure there's going to be something added. Jenny GA says, I can't decide at this time in my heart or gut. I think he is guilty, but I think it could have been murder for hire. I think it's more for hire as well. I think so too. Lynn GMB says Alex fooled everyone around him. Fooled, or did they just go with it? I would say more they go with whatever he says, but yeah, probably fooled some of them too. Destiny says same. I think he definitely hired a hitman. Okay, everybody is on the hitman, or a lot of people are on the hitman train. Sandra says voted based on evidence, but it all feels icky. Yeah. KK Flower says not proved. Yeah, I don't think they proved it. Not yet. They have a couple more weeks to go. Go ahead and get your votes in. Get the votes in. Jenny GA says, thanks, Bri. I have a great weekend. Thank you. You too. Thank you for all the participation today. Definitely appreciate it. Yeah. Deacon Fatal says, I just want some eggs. Some eggs.
Eggs are so expensive right now. Like $50 an egg. Like that's why I was laughing, because I was like, yes, I went to the store and they were all sold out, and the ones that were there were like $50. I mean, like they were like 11, but
that's ridiculous.
No, funny story. I actually went to the store, and me and another lady, we found ourselves staring in the section, looking at the eggs like, do we really need eggs today, though? I don't know. I decided I did not need them. The other lady was like, well, they gonna get these medium-sized eggs today. They $2. I was like, this is ridiculous. We stand here contemplating life on eggs. So I did finally buy some the other day, but yeah.
I was eating eggs like every day.
Every day. We were buying eggs just for you.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize they were that expensive. And then when I started seeing that they were that expensive, I don't know, it just got out of my taste buds.
Yeah,
I never thought about them again.
Inflation will do that to you, right? Change your whole taste buds.
Yeah. We haven't even walked by the eggs.
Bri, I have a question for you. Are you following the Alec Baldwin, the other Alec, the
a little bit? Remember on Tuesday I thought they were the same person, but no, two men with guns. So yes, we are Law and Lumber and I looked at it yesterday. I'm going to try to keep up with it a little bit more. Was there a specific thing you wanted to know if I've seen yet, or are you just wondering?
Oh no, if you talk about that, that's one I actually have been following. I think because it has more to do with my line of like field of work in the industry that I work in. So so that one is very interesting to me, and I think however it plays out is going to impact a lot in the future, especially in the entertainment industry. And I am very eager to see how this is going to play out, because I think it's very similar. I don't think a lot of people see like how similar it is, but this is like a very similar situation to Alex Murdaugh in a lot of ways. And I think like Alec Baldwin, I think his privilege and his wealth and his status has sort of insulated him in ways that made him getting charged. Like he was very shocked. I think he was very, very shocked that he got charged. And I think a lot of people were shocked. I think I was even a little bit surprised that he was charged. But I just think we live in an age where, you know, the people in general are not really here for people being treated differently because of class and you know, socioeconomic status. And so 10 years ago this would have played out very, very differently. And so now I'm interested to see how this play out. So that's why I was asking. I was like, if we're gonna do, you know, if we're gonna chat about it in the future,
we can do another one like this on Baldwin. I think a lot of people have interest in that case too. Let's see. Mindy says, I am there. I think he's guilty. Just right now, I couldn't convict him. Yep, I think everybody's on that same page. We got biographer saying it's too soon to call. Okay. Today was a day I should have gave a neutral, but okay, let's see what the vote says. We have 104 votes. We have 64% saying guilty and 35% saying not guilty. So most people are on the guilty train. We'll see if the prosecution can pull it through, but as of now, it doesn't really seem like they have. So that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for joining in the live stream. Thank you for the members who came onto the live stream. Thank you for the people participating in the chat. Thank you for all the new subscribers. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and hit the like button. Help us out in the algorithm. And
That's the algorithm.
Finesse the algorithm. I will see you all on the next live stream, which will be on Tuesday, and then Thursday next week at what time do I stream at? 6 p.m.
That's when I come on with opinions.
On Thursdays. Alpha will be here. So thank you all again, and I will see you on the next.
And that's 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes,
right,
Pacific Standard. Yep.
And if you haven't seen a live with Alpha and Bri on the same live, don't miss it. Different ball game. You're not gonna want to miss it. I'm telling you. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a whole level of entertainment, whole nother level.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.